All right, everybody. Welcome to the Killer Main podcast series. This week we have Hillbilly, and if my guests would like to introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. I'm Numi. That's about all you need to know. I have I'm coming up on 9,000 hours in DBD, and no, I'm not dead inside. I just talk like this. That's about it, I think.
9K hours in DVD.
Yeah, almost.
I can't.
For how long for when I started playing, I don't feel like I could have quite a bit more hours than that, but...
What have you been playing since the start?
Not quite. I started in, the very end of 2017. I played it a couple times at my friend's house, and then I got it for Christmas, so I basically just started beginning of 2018, before Pig and after Freddy.
Pig.
And I started on PS4.
Pig was a very common chapter for a lot of people.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the licenses. I just played it at my friend's house. And I already knew about the game before because I saw it on Vanos's channel a while back. Or I don't know if it was Vanos. I think it was Delirious.
It's basically the same channel.
Yeah, it just looked like a interesting game. So.
Okay. Well, as the question comes, and I know this is kind of different in your case, and we'll get into that here in a minute, I'm sure. But why Billy?
Well, so when I started playing, there weren't quite as many killers, I guess, and I just always liked the fast ones. So I would always play Billy before his overheat mechanic came along, and I did Nurse, and I don't know if there were many other fast killers at the time, to be honest, but I've gotten a couple more since then. But I've just always loved Billy, and then his whole thing is that he just has one power, but it's nuanced enough to the point where I don't know, there are some killers that are very macro focused, they don't take, I guess, the most mechanical skill in the world to play, but it's mostly the 4v1 you're thinking about when you're playing them.
Yeah,
and that's why they're fun for some people. And it's not to say I don't like the 4v1, I just mostly prefer mechanics, micro and stuff.
Fair enough.
And Billy's always been really fun for that, just because he has a mechanic you can master. That's a very strong tool if you use it properly. Yeah. And he's also fast.
And especially like you mentioned at the start of the game, I mean, a lot of people don't remember old Wraith, but even Wraith wasn't fast back then.
No, he was not. Fun fact for anybody who didn't play during that time, Windstorm, those add-ons, they made your post-uncloak speed boost faster, and it also increased your uncloaking time. It was...
Why would you not?
That's just...
Why would you not?
Gives you an idea of how shitty he is.
What the fuck?
Well, because it increased his uncloak time, so you literally had a red bar uncloaking. So it was just not worth it. I thought he was such a terrible killer.
Yeah, the way behavior words things, I thought you meant it made it faster for some reason. Because sometimes it'll say increase when it actually means decrease.
Oh no, increase the time it took to uncloak is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, especially because Trapper was abysmal at the start of when the game started. Worse than he is now. Wraith was terrible. Hillbilly was the standout of the three, honestly.
Yeah. And there was Nurse. I liked playing Nurse, but...
Mm-hmm.
I just like Billy more.
Did you play Nurse? So you played Nurse during 7 Blink Nurse?
No, they removed 7 Blink Nurse quite a while ago. I did play her when she had 5 blinks.
5?
When you could combine add-ons for 5 blinks. Yeah, it was a Father Campbell's Last Breath, and I think Fragile Wheeze was a 2 blinks and 1 blink, respectively.
That still sounds fucking insane.
It was really funny. I did prefer Omega Blink though, because that was a bit more fun.
To me. Have any other killers really caught your eye since then? Blight or I mean, I know you played Chucky for a little bit before the 180s were removed.
Oh, basically when I switched to PC, like when I made the switch for good, like I was kind of reluctant to fully make the switch because of cross progression not being a thing at all, but I was just like, I might as well just switch to PC, and then Blight came out shortly after, so I never played Blight on console, but when Blight came out, he caught my eye,
Mm.
and I did really like him for a long time. I've kind of grown out of the Blight phase, but
This is
he's
a
one of my P100s.
this is a weirder question to kind of get into with this, but do you think the game needs more mobility killers, or do you think we have enough?
Hmm.
Like, do we need another? Like, realistically speaking, do you think we need another Blight, Wesker, Hillbilly in the game, or do you think we that design space has already been taken up a little bit?
No, I don't. Um, I think they should do more of that killer because, like, honestly, I don't. No other killer really is that super fun to me these days. That's probably a me issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still find other killers decently fun, but there's not like Billy. And whenever I'm like looking through the roster to play somebody, I'm kind of just like, well, M1 killer, M1 killer, macro killer, M1 killer, and it's like their ability isn't like interesting enough for me to like want to play them and like get good at them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Do you play other games outside of Dead by Daylight?
I've been getting back into Geometry Dash pretty heavily, but
Uh, I was gonna ask if if you played Valorant or Apex or something, if the mobility characters in those games speak to you the same way.
um, I did kind of used to play like Overwatch or whatever on or Call of Duty on console, but I kind of suck at first-person shooters, or I did at least, because I don't know, I was younger. I
Mhm.
think I just sucked at them. But I will say, I did like Black Ops 3 a lot because of the movement in that game was super fun.
Mhm.
Same with like Advanced Warfare and whatnot. You got like the jetpacks and shit. Those were always fun to me.
You'd
I just
probably,
like the characters with cool movement powers. It's
yeah,
always been a favorite of mine.
yeah. It's a very common thing for people to like. The biggest reason, from what I understand, and I watch a lot of game devs and stuff talk. The biggest thing with mobility in any character in any game is it gives you options, which is
Yeah, and being fast is fun.
yeah, yeah. It gives you options, and being fast is fun. It's really what it comes down to. I've seen people try to dissect it. Like, why do people enjoy the fast characters? Because being fast is fun. It's really it's like the biggest reason.
It's a very ooga booga reason.
Hmm. Um,
And like, I hear some people say that's why they like Legion, and I'm like, you have Blight, like you have Billy. I don't know. Like, why is
Legion
Legion your
Legion
not hating, but like,
simulates being fast. They're not actually fast, in my opinion. They make you feel fast when they're not.
yeah, Billy doesn't need the lines in the corners of the screen to make you feel like you're going fast. He just is fast.
I'm gonna make a video of me playing like Trapper and just put like the white line overlay over it. See if people think I'm like 120 movement speed. Um,
Yo, this guy definitely has Shadowborn.
fucking Shadowborn.
I remember that was a meme for the longest time. Like if like somebody looked fast as fuck, they're like, "Yo, this guy definitely has Shadowborn." It's just because of the FOV. It was stupid.
I used to refuse to run it because it's addicting. Like you're not going any faster, but you fucking feel like you are. Um,
Yeah.
so the big thing with this. So before we get into asking you what you want changed on him now, um, Billy got a massive well, depends on who you ask, but Billy got a rework in January ish. I could
Hmm.
have the timeline wrong, but very decently recent. Got the rework. changing the overheat to overdrive, and making me confuse it with overclock every other day. Um, uh,
People
some
still say like what's it called? Fucking overcharge.
I I was making someone was talking about Wesker getting a lower cooldown, and I was like, oh, just change it to what they did with Singularity's overdrive. And I tweeted that out, and like I didn't adjust it or anything, and I was like, someone's gonna say something. 5 minutes later, I had like four replies to it. um, but he got the rework, and a bunch of add-ons were changed, obviously to compensate for the new ability, or the new part of the ability. And there was some collision changes, etc., etc. Now, the reason they did this is because Billy, for the longest time, has been kind of seen as not great, not worth the effort. And I'm curious, do you think that the rework accomplished the job it was supposed to?
Um, yeah, before when they added, I think it's like it's been he had um, what do you call it? He had a overheat. He had that mechanic for like 3 solid years, and that entire time he was like doo doo balls tier. Like he was so ass,
Mm-hmm.
and like I just still have no idea why they did that. Um, I think mostly, like for the most part, I think the rework was a good thing. I think they accomplished what they needed to with it. Obviously, like he is a bit overtuned in some aspects, but I feel like some people exaggerate some things slightly. But I just mean um, like they'll say he's overtuned because of this thing, and it's like not really why. Like I know a lot of people say that like his 1 second curve instead of his 0.75 second curve makes him overtuned, and it's like he has overdrive. Like that's the 1 second curve window is not the crux of the issue here. It's the fact that he has the ability to go like Demogorgon shred speed across the map and like have no cooldown.
I
I
yeah,
feel like that's more of an issue than a
I
1 second curve
I think the
window.
cooldown's the biggest issue with me because I've talked to a lot of people about this. Billy's the only insta down killer in the game with no cooldown or condition.
Yeah, and like obviously if you make a blatant statement like that, it's like you can make anything sound dumb,
Right.
but it's like he has an insta down and it should have like a punishment to it
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more than it does. I think it's like he's mostly in like a good spot. I just think um like he just needs a couple of number tweaks really. I don't think he needs any more big overhauls. I think just they could get away with just number tweaks and he would be fun.
Yeah, like I said, I think the biggest thing for me is the same problem I have with Chucky at the moment. I feel like you're not punished enough if you miss. I know some
Yeah,
people don't like that, and that's part of the thing they changed because it did feel really punishing before, but I don't know. It feels like you can miss and just kind of keep going.
I don't know. Chucky's just an interesting case of like they almost had it.
I still say
I mean,
just
it's
12-second cooldown. I think he'd be fine.
yeah, it's cooldown does seem a little fast, but it's just like
But I did also make the statement. I think I made this earlier today. They can make his cooldown 30 seconds, and people still would hate the character.
yeah. Ultimately, it's not really a number tweak thing with Chucky like it is with Billy. I feel like because I feel like the main complaints with Billy is that it's just like his curve is fine. It's just
Well,
he can zone you super well, and with Chucky, it's like you're at like as soon as you get close, you just get hit. It's just like okay.
I think another thing with Billy that also irritates people, and I'm curious on your thoughts on this. The word "easy" is thrown around a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me preface this by saying to play, not to master. Do you think Billy is too easy to get general value out of?
Um, I would agree a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a blanket statement, but you know that's it's often a common complaint with a lot of killers in this game is they are too easy to use. Um, and I disagree slightly on Billy personally. I think Billy is perfectly fine as far as general use. Like I said, I do think he needs to be punished more for missing, but like I don't know, I suck with Hillbilly. I can't play Hillbilly to save my life.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like I get a lot of people in my chat. They're like to like do any glazing of myself here, but they're like I get a lot of chat messages that are like, or even YouTube comments that are like, "Man, you're really good." Like I suck at Billy, and I'm like, I can't play him for shit. And I'm like, I mean, I hear like some of my more veteran friends who play the game like Billy's way too easy now, and I'm like, is he really too easy, or are you just like
Good.
accustomed to how short he was before, and like you just could not do anything with him, and now that you can do things and actually like get value and be a strong killer, like oh, this killer's. It just feels gatekeepy. I just like don't want him to be accessible because like they felt like the pride of being a Billy player was that like he was so unfathomably short that like nobody wanted to play him because he just felt terrible to play.
I mean,
None of these like fun to play. It's just like no, I want my gatekeep back.
we had a
Want to be
similar
special.
we had a similar situation happen with Singularity after the rework or quality of life changes, whatever you want to call it, where a lot of
Yeah,
Singularity players, not a lot, but there was a couple of vocal ones that were like, "Oh, they made him too easy. Now the killer's dead. I'm not going to play him anymore." And I agree. I do think it's a really gatekeepy in a way. Um,
yeah. I mean, the complaints are valid to some extent. Obviously, like Billy is overtuned and like maybe a little bit too easy to get value out of just spamming overdrive. Same with like Singularity. Like I feel like those killers should be just due to the nature of how strong they are. I feel like they should be a little bit like nuanced and like difficult to pick up. And I think that could be accomplished with number tweaks. I don't think it's like a huge issue
mhm.
that's like unsolvable.
um, I mean, the question of like skill expression gets brought up a lot, and I bring this up a lot because my I feel like my idea of skill expression is a little different than some people's, but I feel like Billy, even though people do claim he's easy, also claim he has immense skill expression, which is odd to me.
Yeah, so every killer has a skill floor and a skill ceiling,
Hmm.
and before Billy's skill floor was like really high, as in it was like really hard to get into him, and his skill ceiling honestly wasn't much higher, just because like he was not a good killer. And I think the update did a really good job at accomplishing lowering his skill floor and raising his skill ceiling, because there's a whole new um like a whole new ability with
Hmm.
like overdrive and like a whole new thing to be good at and like practice and get the mechanics down of. And I think for the most part that's a good thing. Like with the Blight update where they removed hub tech and changed his add-ons a little bit, like they actually like raised his skill floor and lowered his skill ceiling,
Hmm.
which was just interesting. I don't think it was a terrible change, but
I
I think lowering skill ceilings is like generally not the move for the most part.
I think they're it's a line they have to straddle. I feel, and I don't know if you've been on Twitter in the past couple days, but they are removing wolf hug techs apparently. Um, the devs have
I did
already,
hear about that.
yeah, the devs said they are, um, and a lot of people are extremely upset about it, um, which rightfully so. I don't think it should be removed. I think it should just become part of the kit, personally. Um, but I think the thing with the skill ceiling versus the skill floor talk, though, I do think is it's an interesting thing in the sense of like I think Skull Merchant's a good example, and I know some people are going to hate me for bringing this up. Skull Merchant, I think, is a good example of a character who has a really low skill floor, and her skill ceiling is there, but because the floor is so low, you never have to go to the ceiling. If that
Yeah,
makes any
I feel
sense.
like that seems like the kind of complaint I hear about Billy is that like he's so easy. There's just like he's just like free and like I don't know. He doesn't even feel free to me most games. I
I
don't know
mean,
if it's because like
like I think because this idea of like a killer is easy to play or easy to get value out of. Like a lot of times, like I there's so many factors in this game. I don't genuinely know what people mean by it most of the
I
time.
guess like people who I hear people say like, oh, I like barely played Billy before, or I like never played Billy, and I just hop on a game of Billy and I just like destroy the lobby, and I'm like, I mean, it's because you're playing an S tier, and like you probably have like a couple thousand hours in the game. You're probably gonna win that pub. Like it's a public game.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably gonna win with an S tier. I don't know what else to tell you. Like,
Mm-hmm. Um,
I don't know.
I mean, it's the same thing with Nurse. It's like people are like nurses. I, I've been guilty of this too. I personally I think Nurse is easier to play than people give her credit for. Um, to master, I think she takes forever, but just to play and get general use out of, no, I think Nurse is way easier than people say. Uh, and people are like, well, I mean, yeah, she's Nurse. You can just 4K with her decently. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of the problem. I mean,
Yeah.
same with like Twins suffers from that too. Like in a general public lobby against solo queue players, Twins is a fucking monster.
Yeah, some killers are just pub stompers, and I don't think it's really fair to say that a killer's too easy because you hopped on a pub and like destroyed Jimmy Neutron 247 on the fucking detective tab. Prestige 1 like only has 2 perks. Like
Doing an adept.
like of course you won that game. I don't know what to tell you. Like you're playing an S tier
I mean
and you won.
that I mean that's always the problem with trying to assess things in this game in general is pub matches are so volatile and different, and you don't know what caliber of players you're necessarily getting for all four. You don't know, like, the maps play a role, the perks are going against play a role. Like there's so many factors into it that it's very hard to fully determine it. Um, for pubs, and I don't mean that in a dismissive way to public players, because I'm a public player. I don't play scrims or comp or anything, but it's like it's just very hard to fully, what's the word I'm looking for, to fully articulate how strong a killer or easy a killer is in that environment. Um,
Yeah.
with that said, and the rework behind us, uh, you mentioned number changes, but realistically speaking, do you have any defined changes you would make to current Billy that you think would make him better overall to play as and against?
Yes, actually. I made a little list before this interview of basic changes I wanted because that was just like I didn't want to forget anything because I thought they were all really important.
You're good.
The first thing I have on the list is give him a 40-meter terror radius. I feel like that would just make him significantly less painful to play against, especially in like solo queue. Even in like groups or whatever. Just the fact that he's so mobile, like there's no reason he shouldn't have a 40-meter TR. Like what? Take that shit away from Wesker, bro. He doesn't need people stealthing on mid-witch. The 40-meter TR, he does not move that fast.
I think
I think Nurse and Billy.
Yeah, Wesker's is mostly there for thematics, from what I understand.
Yeah. I think Nurse and Billy would benefit from a 40-meter TR just like being so oppressive. Like, I mean, yeah, I feel like that would just be a good change
I agree.
for the most part. Obviously, it could be a problem with like colorophobia or like I don't know who uses terror radius builds these days. Though I don't know.
Wesker and fucking Doctor. It's really even then not really.
Yeah, even if it has colorophobia, you can just like go to a corner to reset. It's not like 40 meters is the entire map. just 8 more meters, and I think it gives people a better head start because Billy's main counterplay is holding W early,
Mm.
like just getting to a safe tile, and I think a 40-meter TR would help with that. Just because he can just sneak up on you so quick with overdrive, even if he's not like undetectable or anything. He can just like come out of fucking nowhere, and you're just like, oh, I have nothing. So
Well, I think also making his terror radius 40 meters would encourage more people to maybe run the undetectable stuff also.
yeah, he does have undetectable add-ons. They're very funny and quirky. I like using them sometimes, but
Yeah.
yeah, main thing. Well, not main thing, I guess, but one of the things, 40-meter TR. Then the second thing is about the initial turn rate curve window. This is something I feel like I say a lot of times because I feel like I'm the only person who ever noticed it. When they buff dated Billy, but when they made it so his like curve is not bound to his controller sensitivity anymore. You know that, right? You heard of that one?
Yeah.
Um, when they did that, and his initial turn rate was still 3/4 of a second, they actually didn't change the sensitivity properly. It was slower than it was, like pre overdrive. And I think they made it 1 second just so they could like make you able to 180 again, because you couldn't 180 anymore with the new sensitivity that wasn't linked to controller anymore. So if they really wanted to make his curve window 3/4 of a second again, I really would want them to fix the sensitivity. Well, otherwise, I think keeping it 1 second would be fine, because I don't think it's like just deletes all counterplay to have 1 extra quarter of a second on your curve window, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's another one of those fine line things because I know a lot of people complain about how Oni can only do 180s on mouse and keyboard, which is that I always forget, is that actually true? You can do it on controller, right? It's just very very hard. Or is it
No, you
literally
can't on controller.
it's
Unless you get a
literally
lag spike, you can't do it on controller.
okay. It's one of those things where it's like I kind of feel for behavior because while I would love them to implement it on controller somehow, it's you have to be very careful with it because if you implement it too well, it becomes too easy, and then like a lot of the luster is kind of gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there are select few killers in the game like Oni, Pyramid Head, even Billy with low pro. If you do a low pro flick,
Mhm.
they have a 1 frame flick window, and that's something you can only do on PC because you can only move, like if you move your mouse fast enough, like it's a lot of sideways inputs simultaneously, and like you just can't do that on controller because if you're fully forcing your stick to the left or right, like doesn't mean you move faster. It's just like a set speed, so it's just not a thing you can do on controller. And like as much as I would hate to see it go, like I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things as behavior. If you're an employee there and you're like cool with it, but like don't like that the people on controller are complaining about it because they can't do it. I feel like that's one of the things you just like never address because like you don't really feel like getting rid of it because it makes the game cooler.
I mean,
Just for the sake of like,
the simple solution would just make it so you can use mouse and keyboard on console. That would be the
yeah,
other solution.
it'd be
Um,
cool if they added that support to the game. But
but I think that's actually a console issue, not a or a behavior issue. I know Rainbow Six Siege doesn't even allow mouse and keyboard on console. It's considered cheating.
interesting.
Um, which is that's a gaming industry issue. I feel I don't know. I think it gives you an unfair advantage. Well, technically speaking, like if you have a good set of headphones, that gives you an unfair like it's one of those things. It's just where do we draw the line? Slippery slope argument, all that.
Yeah,
Um, and like I mean, the game has been crossplay for fucking since release, right?
no,
I mean, okay.
it has not been crossplay since release. I don't know when they added it. It might have been year 3 or 4, maybe.
It's weird to think this game was not always crossplay. It's just weird to me. The way the game is set up, I feel like it's one of the few where while mouse and keyboard does give you advantages, it's like not as substantial as in a lot of other games.
Yeah, there are a lot of things I would like to see DBD add, like support up to 240 FPS. That would be fire, but like, there's no reason for them to ever do that, really. There's no reason for them to care about adding that.
Right, what is it?
I would love
max
playing
now?
Billy on. No, it's 120.
120. Okay.
Yeah, it would be. It would be so fire to play Billy on 240 FPS. I look forward to that day if it ever comes, because it would be really fun. But
I'm not a very big snob on FPSs personally, but I would. I mean, I can't see the harm in adding it. I think it would be fine.
you're gonna get
Especially
a lot of people complaining on Twitter. That's for sure.
about what?
Oh my god. He has more frame rate. It's an unfair advantage. It should be capped at 120. Like, they'll just find a reason to complain about anything. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, so, like okay, like you're playing like if you're playing on a modern console, don't most of them have the capacity to go to 120?
I mean, yeah, they should just. Um, I don't actually. I don't know if like modern consoles can do 120 on DVD. I think they can do 120 on some games. I don't know if DVD supports it. I know they support 120 FPS. I just don't know if they do on console. That's just not something I know of. But
And it's like if the argument is like, "Oh, well, I play on Switch, I only get 30." It's like, well, I mean, that's not
okay,
that's no, I love my Switch players. I know a lot of them, but like I'm sorry to say that's a you problem.
you play on Nintendo Switch, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
Like I don't know. Once again, it's a like, is there an advantage above 120, like 60 FPS? Yes, there is. Depending on who you ask, how much it is a whole other story. But I don't think it's a substantial amount enough to make it like an unfair advantage necessarily.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a me thing. I'm sure someone will argue me on that one. But well, at 240, you can actually see the exact frame that their hearts die, and you can. um.
Okay.
Any other changes?
Yes, I got 3 more. Better visual and audio feedback from the survivor perspective for overdrive generation. It's the third one I put here because I get a lot of complaints about how, like, I mean, from what I know, you just can't really see if Billy's about to get overdrive from survivor perspective. You just kind of have to guess if he's about to get it. Just because you can't see the chainsaw starting to turn blue or anything, or like you can't hear it like getting higher pitched or anything. Like, I feel like that should just be something you can see visually. Like, oh, he's really close to getting overdrive. Like, you should just be able to see that. So I don't know why that's not a thing.
They could either make the color more distinct. They could add another medium color for when he's like 50%. Or they could do what they do to every other killer with a power like that and just make it so there's a sound effect before it happens. You know, like Dredge, right before nightfall, you hear the whoosh. Like,
yeah, I don't know if they would necessarily have to do a sound effect before, but I think making the revving pitch higher and what do you call it? Making the chainsaw look like more blue and like starting to glow more before it hits overdrive would be nice, just so you can tell, like,
yeah,
when he's about to get that.
Yeah, just for clarity's sake.
Yeah,
Because
that would be good.
there is a sound effect for when it happens for the survivors, right? They hear it.
Yeah, they hear it when it happens, but like that could be mid chainsaw sprint as you're trying to make a window, and he's like, "Oh, well, I get overdrive now. You die because you didn't know I was gonna get overdrive, and now you can't make this distance." Skill issue. It's like he could just be sawing across the map the whole game, and like you could be not in the range of his chainsaw audio, and like not know he's been generating overdrive, and then he gets to, and he's like, okay, he doesn't have overdrive. Maybe you just spent the whole thing, or maybe he's at 99, and I have no way of telling. Maybe I can make this pallet. Maybe I just die instantly because he has overdrive already. And it's like you should just be able to tell.
Like they could
So you can make
just,
decisions based on that.
yeah, they could just make it so the chainsaw just goes fully blue.
Yeah.
It might look a little silly, but like I think it's for clarity's sake, I think it would be fine.
Yeah,
Um,
it's I feel like it would be pretty easy to make it so um like even when Billy had overheat, I'm pretty sure you could tell when his chainsaw was overheated because like you could see the smoke coming off of it.
I
And
very
like
rarely
they
saw it
could,
happen, so I.
yeah, you could see smoke coming off of Billy's saw when he was overheated. So they could definitely do something about overdrive,
Mm.
like add smoke to it or something coming off of it. But yeah, that's number 3. Um, Number 4 is to remove the charge speed and cooldown reduction bonuses from overdrive, because quite frankly, there's kind of not a point in those existing. Like you go from 10.12 meters a second to 13 meters a second with
Mm.
overdrive, and that movement speed is enough. Like that is more than enough of an incentive to use overdrive. You don't also need a faster charge speed and lowered cooldowns. Like it just feels like bad to play against. Like he's already that fast. He just doesn't need the charge speed or cooldown. Like he just doesn't need it. So I think they could do away with those and just um yeah. That's all I have to say about that one. Like he just doesn't need that. He's a really strong killer and he doesn't need it.
I
That's all I
think
have to say.
I think now that we've had a few months of the increased uh charge speed and whatnot, I do think that could go. I think it would be fine.
Yeah.
Now that
And something
people
else.
had time.
Yeah. The cooldown is the main like annoying thing cuz like you'll somehow dodge the curve moving at Mach 4 and then you're like, "Okay, let me get to this pallet." And he's like, "Well, you see, I also have decreased cooldown because fuck you, why not?" It's like, "Okay, I guess I die. I don't make this."
I was definitely subbed to your YouTube channel, by the way.
I believe you.
I watch your videos. I don't know why I wasn't. Do you
And then the
think?
last
Oh,
sorry, what's up?
go ahead with your last one. I'll bring up mine.
Okay, it kind of ties in with the last one, but I would make it so the current duration of overdrive and the time it takes to generate overdrive would be 50% longer. As in, it would take, instead of 20 charges to generate overdrive, it would take 30, and overdrive would last 30 seconds instead of 20 seconds. And I think, because people are like, he gets overdrive way too fast, and even that is not like a set in stone number. I think if it just took him longer to get overdrive and like maybe it lasted a little bit longer to compensate because he also wouldn't have the cooldown and movement speed like bonuses anymore. Like I feel like that would be fine because he does get overdrive really fast. So I feel like it could be fine tuned, but that was just like my first idea is just make them both like take 50% longer.
Do you think? Correct me if I'm wrong. There's no cooldown after overdrive is done, right? You can just get it back.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think there should be?
not really. I mean, not everything has to have a cooldown. I think just making it take longer to get would be fine.
Okay, fair. I mean, making it take longer would essentially give it a cooldown, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the idea. People don't like cooldowns either, so for the most part.
Another thing, and we can talk survivors playing bad all day, but
Sorry, give me one sec.
okay.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
You're good. You're good.
What were you saying?
I was saying we can talk about survivors being bad all day and whether or not it's their fault, but Billy is kind of really good at slugging sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hear me out on this change to kind of help that a bit. Uh, when you down a survivor, your overdrive gets depleted.
I think I could get behind that with overdrive being 30 seconds long.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think it wouldn't completely fix it, right? And because there's, I hate to tell people this, unless they add something that helps slugs, which I'll never do because we all complained about it. Slugging is an issue for a lot of killers, but especially ones like Billy, and it always will be, unfortunately.
Yeah, even the thing with that is like, I don't know, survivors just know how to like hop in a locker. Like, I can't get away with 4 slugging everybody the whole game.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah, just
Like,
because it
even
takes
if
more
your
time.
chases are really short, like you could just hop in a locker, like run circles around a rock, just like make shit take extra time, even if you don't last that long. And if you go in a locker, it's like I can't really do much about that. Like, you
Yeah,
can really punish a Billy who's trying to slug that much, and people don't really know how to do it.
I mean, you know, we talk about hand holding in this game and how they're taking a lot of skill expression away and such. But if enough of the player base isn't like grasping how to go against it, should something be changed?
Um,
Like, at what point is it a skill issue, and at what point is it a player base issue?
I don't know. I feel like just with the tweaks they could make to Billy, I feel like it would alleviate that problem a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
with the slugging. Um, I don't know. It kind of just feels like a skill issue, though, a little bit. Like, obviously, he's a really strong killer, but I feel like it's a little bit a skill issue.
So, moving on to the other changes that they want to talk about, his add-ons.
Mm-hmm.
There is probably one that's very controversial, and a few that are, let's say, redundant, to be nice. I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about the redundant ones real quick.
I feel like I can name them all from memory.
They're
It's
mostly
high-speed idler screw, discarded air filter, ragged engine, and what is the last one? Discarded air filter, ragged engine, thermal casing is the last one.
they all do the
They're
same
all
thing, right? Just different
terrible.
numbers, right?
Yeah, pretty much. They're all the same terrible add-on.
For those who don't know, it's the ones that they make it so your overdrive doesn't deplete while it's charging up faster, which is really dumb because Billy can just push him
Can tap your
to
saw for half a second.
stop it anyways.
Yeah, it immediately stops overdrive dissipation,
It's so
like instantly.
it's so dumb. Like, I get what they were going for, but it's like, you mean to tell me no one realized how dumb this was? No one, not a soul.
Yeah, those just need to be changed completely.
But the other one, the more controversial one, because I don't even know how they could change those. I just want to bring them up because they're just terrible, and I want more people to know.
Yeah.
Low pro.
Mm-hmm.
Low pro, low pro, low pro. Add-on, this add-on gets talked about a lot, both in good faith and in bad faith. Some good arguments, some bad ones. Some people who want it gutted, some people who want it to stay the same. In your honest opinion, taking fun out of the equation, which I know it can be very difficult to take out of an argument sometimes, but do you think low pro needs to be changed? Not necessarily
Yes.
nerfed or gutted, but do you think it needs to be changed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's just no reason for it to exist the way it is right now on current Billy. And I know how they could change it. Because, like,
I have an idea, but I'm curious on what your thoughts are.
so if they didn't want to get rid of the code for just like breaking pallets and continuing the sprint, they could just make it permanently speed limiter. I feel like that would be fine. They could get away with doing that. And I feel like it would also work as an eerie add-on, and it would be nice to have engravings be a purple add-on again.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get more of them, but I think you could get away with like making it permanently speed limiter and then making it eerie so it's just like a different way to play. Because like it would still be strong, but it's just like it wouldn't just be. There's no reason to not run this if you want to win every single game instantly.
Remind me again what speed limiter does.
You can't insta down people with your saw.
I thought Low Pro already did that.
That's only if you break through a pallet or a wall before hitting somebody. Like once you break through a pallet or a wall, like within the first 5 seconds of that sprint, if you hit somebody, it only does 1 health state. And they could fix it by just, well, pretty much fix it. They could just make it tolerable, make it not like completely overbearing by just making it always do 1 health state instead of insta downing.
I was just gonna say make it so it can't down. That was gonna be my suggestion, but I like yours more.
Yeah, I don't like that one, only just because like it wouldn't make any sense. Really. Like it wouldn't make sense, and it also just wouldn't be fun to use. Like it would be okay if they just reworked it completely so it didn't do the same thing anymore, but if you wanted to keep it, which I would prefer to keep it because it's fun to use, like just make it so you can't insta down people. Okay. I think it would be fun.
Fair enough. I think that's the biggest thing is that it can still insta down if you use it correctly. I think that's the biggest problem. So yeah, I can get behind that. Now the next changes, or unless there's some other add-ons you want to talk about, I don't really think the other ones are really. I think the other ones are fine. Like, I can see some like little adjustments here, but I think most of his other add-ons are okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of his add-ons are fine. Really, I know people are starting to complain about boots a little bit, and I can understand why, because the mobility you get from them is kind of stupid. It would be fine if they like wanted to like nerf those a bit, or even like give him like Dad's boots base kit and then remove his turn rate add-ons. I don't know. They could honestly do whatever with that. I would be kind of fine with it. Like even if they got rid of turn rate add-ons completely, I'd be fine with it. If they made it partially base kit, I'd be fine with it. Like they could do whatever to turn rate.
What is the yellow?
As long as they don't nerf his current turn rate.
What was the yellow? 40%, isn't it?
It's 45.
45. Okay. Which I don't.
And Dad's boots is 30.
I don't even know what that actually does on the code. I don't know if it's. Does it increase his max turn rate or like his?
I think so. I don't know exactly.
Yeah. Turn rate
I would assume it's just like.
Yeah, turn rate percentages and stuff like that are actually kind of weird when you look at the actual code.
I would assume it just increases the degrees per second number that you can turn.
Like a steering.
That's what I would think.
Yeah. Fun fact for those who don't know, I'm gonna spit some car facts at you. A steering wheel will turn a wheel 14 degrees every turn.
Interesting.
That is every time. When I say every turn, it's every time all the teeth are turned in the steering column. Which is.
I'm not a car guy, so I don't know what that means. But
I'm not a car guy either. I just sell parts. I just had to learn that one day. Yeah, like I can see the turn rate ones maybe being adjusted here and there, but I still think they're fine for what they are. Like it's not like they instantly win a match for you, right? It's not like they're unplayable against.
They are. Yeah, no, that's not unplayable, but it can be. They can be pretty devastating over the course of a match. You can get a ridiculous amount of value out of spiked boots, and I think they might honestly be better than engravings. I might see if I have a tier list here of add-ons for Billy.
I think the interesting thing with it, though, is like...
Yeah.
Because I bring up this a lot of like, is it a necessary evil, though, because of how some of the loops are?
I mean, it doesn't really help you with loops that much, I don't feel like. It's just mostly for map traversal and like mid-range shots. It can be a lot easier to hit people from mid-range just because you can adjust so much.
Okay. Oh.
Like it's just you're just always going to get boots value like every game when you're running it. It's just a really strong add-on.
I will put this on screen. Low Pro and S, of course.
Yeah. I think if they made it permanently speed limiter, it would probably fall like low B tier, and like it wouldn't fix the I guess the problem of it being annoying per se if you wanted to be annoying with it, but you couldn't just like be annoying and also win every game with it. I think it would be fine because it would just be the clip add-on, the funny haha add-on.
I haven't really messed with Billy too much since the rework. What are the flip-flop ones?
Oh, those are filthy slippers, and when you're sprinting for 2 seconds, you become undetectable.
Oh, okay. I was just genuinely curious.
I'm pretty sure I can name every add-on by looking at it in this tier list.
What do you mean? We main killers. We can't do that. We don't know random numbers for no reason. That's not something we do all the time. The next talking point after the add-ons, something I like to bring up is teachables, because no one ever talks about these.
Mm-hmm.
Billy's teachables are interesting. Tinkerer, Enduring, and what is his last teachable?
I'll give you a hint. It's a Twitter survivor's least favorite perk.
Doesn't narrow it down. Brutal? No.
It's Lightborn.
Oh, Lightborn.
One of the least favorites anyway. I suppose every killer perk is a Twitter survivor's least favorite perk, but it wasn't very helpful, sorry.
I always forget. I always feel like Lightborn's a base game kit, or a perk. I don't know why. It kind of feels like one.
Yeah, Billy's perks are just weird.
I think Enduring is okay.
Really weird.
I like the change they did to Tinkerer, and I've talked about Lightborn. While I don't think it's as much as people find it annoying, I do think it should be adjusted because I'm not a fan of things that like take away gameplay styles.
Are you familiar with what all of those perks did originally?
Tinkerer, didn't it increase like add-on strength or something?
Yeah, increase the effectiveness of charge time add-ons. So you had things like Insta Saw and like Insta Wind Up Huntress, whatnot. Which like made sense because you're like tinkering with the add-ons or whatever. But when they changed it, like it, from a logical perspective, it just doesn't make sense. Like why? Like when a gen hits 70, you become undetectable. That seems like a very like singularity thing. I feel like that would be like a singularity perk or some shit. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I get it. I get you. From the thematic perspective, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know how they would change it, but it's the perk is just goofy now. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just really goofy.
Honestly, like based on the description of the name, it should do something with items. Honestly, but
yeah, maybe I would have to think about it more.
I feel like everything that every perk that like affects items is like all the effects have been done already. Unless there's something I'm missing. Like I could see it being like Hoarder.
I would have to think about it, but yeah, I would probably change Tinkerer just because it doesn't really make sense, and it's also not that good of a perk. It's just whatever.
Yeah, even when it was good, I didn't run it because I used to call it Anxiety the perk. That's pretty much what it used to be.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that gen's about to pop, and I can't really do anything about it. Guess I'm undetectable now. Now I'm just gonna feel anxious for the next 15 seconds until it pops. It's just like, it's just goofy. It's a really goofy perk.
I run it in my what I call the TikTok unknown build.
What is that supposed to be?
Tinkerer, Insidious, Vanishing Box. That's all you need. The rest of it's whatever you want. You don't chase anybody. You wait for Tinkerer to pop. You go near the gen, like around a corner or something. You sit there with Insidious, and the moment it pops, you peek around the corner with your UVX pulled out and insta hit them with the UVX because of Vanishing Box.
That's actually goofy as hell.
It works surprisingly well. You would be surprised.
That sounds pretty fun, actually.
I call it the TikTok unknown build because that's where I got it from. Some dude on TikTok.
Yeah, I don't think Tinkerer is like a priority change at all. Like the perk is kind of fine. It's just a thing that doesn't really make sense to me.
It
The perk
does.
just doesn't.
It does also work with one of his add-ons.
Yeah, that's true. Apex Muffler.
Um,
I think they just want the synergy with the undetectable perks and whatever.
did they get rid of his Lightborn add-ons? You know
Yes, they
something?
did.
Oh, okay.
Was it Black Grease?
You get
I
increased
think
charge time while the flashlight is on you. Like, okay.
that was a goofy.
Uh,
And then Lightborn back in the day didn't actually make you immune to blinds.
it doesn't now.
What do you mean?
I've tested this because I run Champion of Light all the time. You can still blind a killer with Lightborn.
Oh, the beam still closes, you mean?
Yeah, and you
Does it
still
like hinder even if they have Lightborn
yeah.
and they don't get blinded, they still get hindered?
Mhm.
That's goofy as hell.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't know
gonna
what the
lie.
timing is. I haven't tested it or anything, but I think it was 20 seconds.
It's like it took 20 seconds to blind them.
Yeah, well, I only know this because it was a clown. Don't ask how I got 20 seconds. I think what was happening because I kind of remember the match. It was on Swamp. I was on the bottom ramp of main building, of the docks, and I was walking back with Champion of Light, and he was just staring me down. So I knew he had Lightboard. I said, you know what? I'm committing to the bit, and the beam did the thing, and it said Champion of Light went on cooldown, so it worked.
No.
I don't know if it
Did he
actually.
like slow down?
Yeah, he slowed down.
That is it's very goofy.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's similar to I'm gonna bring up something no one or a lot of people don't know about. It's similar to I would assume how Pokemon back in the day, Red and Blue, did their coding. Um, it's probably a number thing where the 100% doesn't fully negate it because if it goes over a certain amount, the number goes back to zero, and it counts it as being under 100%.
I think it might be that, but I think it might also have to do with like back when before they made it so you were completely immune to blinds with Lightborn,
Hmm.
it just made you resistant to blinds, so you could actually still blind a killer with Lightborn. You would just have to have like two people shining a flashlight early on a pickup to like time it. It was really funny, but I think it's like it still has that old timing built in. So if you manage to like hold it on them long enough, it'll like count as a full blind, but they just like never got rid of that coding or something.
Well, I
So
mean,
like you can still technically blind the killer, but you just like don't get blinded.
it,
If
it
that
would
makes sense.
it would be very similar to it would be similar to what's it called awakened awareness, where the way they changed the coding was made it 0 seconds, so lethal still affects it.
Maybe.
Um,
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Why is my kbps going down?
Stream looks like it's dying its head.
What's going on? YouTube is fine. It's back up. I don't know what's going on. I love technical difficulties. They're the best. And then enduring, I think is okay. I could maybe this is a bit much. I feel like enduring should just work on every stun that isn't decisive. Do you think
Well,
that would be too much?
I mean, I don't really know if I like enduring the way it is now. Just because, like, some palettes you just have to stun people to. You have to stun the killer to, like, get away with, like, living at the tile, and then enduring's just like, I don't care. You're dying anyway. It's like, I don't know. Enduring, I've come to, like, not really like it that much because it's just kind of cheap. It's like you don't have to learn how to play on safe palettes because you can just eat a stun and they can't get away.
I
It's
mean,
like it's not a problem perk per se, but it's just like it's not super interesting all the time, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like they could adjust the numbers, but it's a fickle number to adjust because if you make it too low, then it just becomes pointless.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing with all of Billy's perks is they're just like they're whatever. I guess they can just stay how they are. I'm not gonna lose sleep over how they are now, but they're none of them are just like particularly fun or interesting perks to me.
Hmm.
Besides, like I guess enduring if I want to shut my brain off. It's good for that. Billy's a very ooga booga killer in that nature. You could just be like, I don't care. I'm turning my brain off. I'm running enduring, walking through everything.
um,
Actually, when Billy was charging his saw back in the day, like if you had it at like 99 or whatever, or if you had it like charged up and then you got stunned, you would keep the charge progression when the stun was over. So you could
what?
just like combo it with enduring. Yeah, you could like charge up your saw to like 90, get stunned, and then by the time the stun was over with enduring, it would be at like 70, and you could just like insta break the pallet. It's kind of funny.
Sounds really dumb, but I kind
I
of
get
like
why
it.
they got rid of that, but
Uh,
yeah, I get why they removed it, but it was
so
pretty fun.
we're gonna probably talk about this a little bit later, but you are you still doing the win streak?
Hmm. I
What
haven't streamed in like a week
what
just
are you
because
at though?
school's starting back up. 1250.
Um, so I'm gonna ask you for the win streak. It's pretty much been the same build. I assume you haven't really adjusted it at all.
The only thing I changed recently is the build you see in the bottom right is instead of pop I have eruption on now, just because pop is not that good.
Yeah. I think people are starting to
Unless you're
realize that.
comboing it with eruption.
Yeah, I think people are starting to realize
Like if
that.
I wasn't running, yeah, pop is just like you just get way more value out of eruption. You can
Oh,
still get value out of pop, but it's only if it's like the only reason you'd ever run it is if you have like nothing else to run and you're comboing it with eruption for extra value. But generally, like eruption just gives you more value. So
hang on a second. I have no idea what's going on with OBS. I'm at 5% CPU use. What the hell is going on? I love technology. Okay. Yeah, and then corrupt, I assume, is just so they don't immediately do the gens they're spawning on. Even though you're an insta down
oh
killer,
yeah,
it probably could. Hmm?
I get questions about corrupt constantly. It's like every stream I do, it's like why corrupt, why corrupt, why corrupt, and I'm like, you can down somebody instantly across the map, and it's like, okay, say I get like Team Petroleum on their NA win streak, and we're on RBD. Do you think I'm getting it down instantly? Like this is for the worst case scenario. You think I'm getting value out of DMS on like RPD? Like this build I found is like the most consistent thing I can run for like terrible maps. Is like even if you get it down instantly and you have corrupt, it's like you still forced people to move because they spawned in, they saw corrupt gen, they're like, okay, I'll run away. And even by the time they get to another gen, like if I got the down like instantly, they'll probably be another gen anyway. It's like they're forced to just like run around and do nothing until the first down. That's the
Yeah,
most important thing anyway. It doesn't matter how quick it is.
I feel like
Corrupt is just like always useful.
I feel like people what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like people oversell what corrupt is quote supposed to do. Um, and don't really think about what it's actually doing a lot of the times. Because I have some people who play this game and will tell me that corrupt is not good. And
Yeah,
it's
if
like,
you are not running corrupt and you get an unlucky spawn, that's 4 people separated. Worst case scenario, you get 3 people instantly on a gen. Even if you get a down in 20 seconds, that's still 3 separate gens with 20 seconds of progress on them. Pain res is going to hit one of them. Like you can't kick all of them with eruption before somebody gets a save. It's like, and then corrupt is just like, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
just like guarantees pressure at the start.
and I mean, as someone who plays a killer who cannot make it across a lot of the bigger maps. I mean, there have been times I don't run corrupt and I walk across the map to the gen they all spawned on, and it's just done. And there's nothing I could
Yeah.
have done. It's
I even get games of that with Billy. Like, I'll play on layers, and I'm just like, I've checked every gen on the map, and then I hear one pop, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I have corrupt. What is going on?
and then
How is this
bam,
happening?
bam. I assume is obvious. I mean, for obvious reasons, it just shuts down a lot of loops that can give him trouble because of the window.
Yeah, Billy's main weakness is Windows and the control key, but mostly Windows. And Bamboozle's just like, no, no to your window. It's a huge time saver, and like you don't need it, but if I'm again, this is the build for the worst case scenario. Obviously, I could probably get away with running like Ruin Penty, Undying, like some wretched fate shit, but like I get people asking me why I don't run that all the time, and it's like, imagine that build on an indoor map against a good team. What am I doing? Penty on an indoor map. Like, I'm not doing shit. I am the hillbilly, I'm not the nurse. I'm not getting value.
Have you tried Dark Arrogance at all? I know it doesn't block the window, but the increased speed.
I have actually. I think that was one of my builds on Billy when I was playing off stream, just like goofing around. I would run Dark Arrogance, Superior Anatomy, bam, just because I didn't feel like dealing with windows. I'm just like
Crowd control?
yeet through the window. Crowd control is also a good one, but that's another perk that's like, what am I gonna do if they cleanse the totem instantly? And it's like Garden of Joy.
Yeah, I feel like crowd.
Or
I mean, they said
Larry's.
they are adjusting it.
Honestly, the main reason I have Bamboozle is just for Larry's. Like, that map is just so bad. It's always like terrifying when I get Larry's.
Larry's, I feel, doesn't get brought up enough as a bad map.
No, it's terrible. Like, it's easily Billy's worst map in my opinion. Like, that map is just ass. I hate it.
It's a lot of killers.
Too many strong windows. Too many really good palettes.
Okay. We're back, and it looks better. Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, you haven't really deviated too much though during the win streak at all. Have you taken a break from the win streak and just played Billy to play Billy, or have you been really committed to it?
The thing is, I don't want to. If I'm playing Billy on stream, I don't want to do regular games. I want to be doing win streak games. Makes it a little rough sometimes, but if I'm playing Billy on stream, I want to do win streak games, or if I'm doing like a showcase or scrims or whatever, I'll do that, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, do you think there's anything better, or do you think like I mean, you said the build you run is for worst case scenario, but do you think there's anything like genuinely better to run?
I mean, yeah, like you'll see commonly in like tournaments, scrims, and whatnot, Billy's will run like Ruin, sometimes Devour, Penty, Crowd Control, a lot of Hex stuff, because I'm having to run around and cleanse Hexes and run around and pick up slugs and run around and heal people and run around and do gens and run around and get on hooks when I'm Mach 14 is like not easy to do. Like Hex builds, especially with like really strong Hexes, like Billy can just snowball pressure like crazy. So you'll see a lot of Hex builds in comp. And I think those, if you're playing really well and like you're on a good map, like if I'm on Blood Lodge, that's probably, I think the best possible build you could run is probably like Pain Res, Ruin Penty, and Grim Embrace, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason I don't run that is because it doesn't have Bamboozle, and it's like no guarantee I'm not gonna play on Larry's that day, you know. and then I run Eruption instead of Grim Embrace, because sometimes you'll just like tunnel somebody out, and then like you only get one stack of Grim Embrace, and like you're not getting value out of it really the rest of the game. And it's only like 10 seconds or something now, isn't it? It's not like the craziest thing ever, but in a competitive scenario on like a decent map, it's really good.
Yeah, it's 10 and then 30, I think, on the final one. Might be 20 on the final now.
Wasn't it 40?
Is it 40?
Did they nerf that one?
I don't remember. So I can't keep up most of the time. They keep changing like the same perks over and over again. I don't know. So I honestly I don't even know what pop is anymore. Is it 20% right now? Or is it 10?
I think it's 20% of the current progress of the gen. Yeah, not very good.
So this next one is a bit esoteric of a question, but speaking of all the changes, state of the game. How do you feel about the current state of the game and where the direction of the game seems to be going?
I don't know. That's a hard question. Just because, like, I don't know. This game is kind of like the Ship of Theseus, in a way, if you're familiar with that.
Ship of Theseus?
It's just like... Is it Theseus?
Yeah.
I thought it was like Theseus.
Yeah, it's Theseus. Where
is it Theseus, my fucking...
It's also the... If it's what I think it is, it's also like Lincoln's Hatchet.
Hold
on. You're talking about when you take a board out and put it back in. At what point is it a new ship?
Yeah, it's not really the same game it used to be. They just keep like tweaking a bunch of things, and like not necessarily a bad thing, but just some things about the game that like I don't particularly like anymore, and like some perks that I don't like, but like can't cater to everybody really. I think the game's mostly in a fine spot. I think I might be a little bit burnt out, but that feels mostly like a me issue. I'm fine with where the game is for the most part, really.
I mean...
I really couldn't tell you just because for the past week I've been playing Geometry Dash. I just like burned out starting school up and doing win streak games constantly. I'm kind of just...
I mean, you're doing a win streak with the same killer with almost the same build for like 1,200 matches or so. Nothing against you, but like I think anyone would get burnt out from that.
Yeah, I found it fun for quite a while, and I still do think it's fun. I just gotta get back into it because I'm like out of the flow of things. I couldn't tell you about the state of the game this week, but I think the past month it hasn't been that terrible, really.
Mm-hmm.
There's I think my main thing that annoys me with the game right now is just off the record. It's just like really annoying to play against. I don't know. It's like my main thing. But like otherwise, I feel like the game is kind of in a fine spot. It's just like off the record, it's just kind of way overtuned.
Don't say that. Don't say anything like that on Twitter. You'll get destroyed.
I mean, I typically like most of my complaints are like cater to survivors. Like I want things to be fair because like I think on the killer side there can be a lot of dumb shit, and like I can typically excuse like pretty egregious survivor perks, but off the record it's just been like really annoying. And like if I even struggle to deal with it on Billy, it's like, can you imagine somebody like who mains a low tier like trying to deal with off the record? It's like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had a I said on Twitter a couple days ago that I hate Dead Hard when I'm playing Chucky because he is one of the most telegraphed attacks in the game.
Yeah, but that's just like saying you hate DH when you're playing Nurse. It's like not complaining that it's strong against me. It's just like annoying, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I got destroyed for that. Apparently, I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I play Chucky, by the way. That's what a lot of people were saying.
And it just feels like people are really quick to jump to make assumptions about what you're saying. Like, also, Phoenix said that you're quiet compared to me.
Oh.
Okay. A little bit.
I can adjust that.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like if you're on Twitter, there is no such thing as nuance. You have to be as clear as day about what you're saying if you're on Twitter.
Yeah, I even like
You're making a point about something.
I responded to a bunch of them and was like, yeah, I'm not saying it needs to be changed or it needs to be nerfed or it's bad. I'm just saying I hate it. That's it. There's no nuance. There's no purpose. There's no point to this tweet. I'm just. It's just. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
like it's the nuance in that case is just like you're not saying that DH should be nerfed or that like it's overpowered or something or that Chucky's weak. Like you're just saying when I'm on Chucky, I typically am annoyed by DH because it is strong against Chucky.
Yeah.
And like that says nothing else about that, but people just make assumptions about that really quick because I don't know, if you're replying to something on Twitter, you're just like assuming everything about that person's life down to what they fucking ate for breakfast that morning, and it's like, dude, chill out. Like, please. People are taking this shit way too seriously.
I don't know. It's
Like, just stop to consider alternative options before you reply to people. Like, it's crazy to me.
yeah.
It's just like,
It's a weird
yeah.
thing, and like I mean, even talking like killer strength on Twitter is fucking. I've made it very clear. I hate tier lists, especially for this game, because
I like tier lists.
no one quantifies them. That's my problem with tier lists.
Well, the criteria, they don't give you criteria for
Most
it.
people don't.
You mean?
Yeah, most people don't give criteria or
Yeah.
quantify it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
I like tier lists, to be fair. I like trying to like visualize like how strong things are.
people will be like, "Oh, well, this character is in S tier." It's like, okay, are we talking? We talking pubs? We talking comp? We talking with full builds? We talking against new players? We talking against bad players? We talking to or good players? We talking the person playing them has played them to like the point of mastery? Are we talking about the potential?
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, it's just like they're referring to like the average of everything, or like a sample size of like maybe like 100 games of each killer, like how well they perform against like different whatever. That's what I would assume anyway.
Well, see, that's
I
the
sent
thing.
you
I
my
would.
tier list based on just like everything, like assuming the killers played to their highest potential. It's just like um the average result you're gonna get on them on like random players, random maps.
I think you were the first person I have seen put Chucky as low as you did, and I completely agree.
Yeah, I consulted a couple of friends about this one. I got like a couple of opinions on it, and yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I don't think there's anything that stands out as being like an egregious placement, really.
Is
Besides maybe
this
Bubba. I feel like Bubba's a tad low, but
is
it's
this
kind of
taking add-ons and bills into account, or just the killers themselves?
it's like the same way Ots does it, where it's like it's assuming like not like they're fucking stupidly powerful add-ons, but like somewhat considering them. It's
Mhm.
just like assuming like a sample size of like a couple games against like good players, good maps, bad maps, good add-ons, bad add-ons.
Yeah,
Just like on average how well they perform.
yeah. I think I like I could probably like dissect it, but I feel like looking at this, I mostly agree with most of them. I think you put Vecna in the middle. It looks like, which is like right where I would put Vecna. I think he's like the most. And this isn't insulting Vecna players, but I think he's the most middle killer.
Navigna's honestly I feel like I have him kind of high here. I don't know why he's that high, but like I feel like
I feel like because of the way his stuff works, he's a jack of all trades and master of none. So by definition, he's in the middle.
yeah, I guess so.
They used to be
Makes
Demogorgon.
sense.
You know, a lot of people would put Demogorgon right in the middle. Which I mean, you
I mean
guys,
he is right in the middle there.
yeah. But I
um
feel like Vecna is kind of more in the middle than Demogorgon is.
yeah, fair enough.
Um, it's just a me thing though. Like tier lists are fine. Like I don't actually have an issue with it. It's just like I said, a lot of people just don't give qualifiers, and that always confuses me because like you know, there's some people who say Billy is better than Nurse right now.
Yeah, my
They
take
won't.
on that.
Go ahead with that because I'm curious.
Yeah, sorry. Um, yeah, my take on that is just always like, if you think Billy's better than Nurse, I have nothing to say to that. You're probably right, but like, I think it's very close. But I think the thing that just gives Nurse the edge is just the fact that, like, so you get Billy on Wrecker's Yard and Nurse on Wrecker's Yard. They're probably gonna perform both of them like really well.
Mm-hmm.
Billy might perform better even, and not to say that Nurse is bad. Billy's just like really good on in a lot of scenarios, mostly outdoor maps. But like you throw Billy on Larry's and suddenly walls are still walls to Nurse and windows are plentiful on this map, and it's like, who do you think's gonna perform better? You know,
Yeah,
like
I think map dependency is the reason why I put Billy under Nurse personally.
yeah, Billy's more map dependent than Nurse, and like even if Nurse's mobility isn't as good, she more than makes up for it. And the fact that, well, one, she has vertical mobility, and like her mobility is kind of like, her mobility is still really good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like nearly as good as Billy's. But it's not like Billy's mobility just like completely overshadows the fact that just Chase, like, he can get ran pretty bad if you're on a bad map. Like Nurse just doesn't, she doesn't give a shit. Like walls are walls, pallets don't mean anything, windows don't mean anything. It's just like, she will consistently down you in 20 seconds if she's a good Nurse player. And Billy can't, like, he can get ran pretty bad. That's the only reason I have him below Nurse. Is like, I think most of the time Nurse will outperform Billy, but it's pretty close. And like, I don't think it's a terrible, I don't think it's a bad take to say that Billy's better than Nurse. Like, he is a lot of the time, but I think Nurse more of the time is just a better killer, more
I think,
consistent.
yeah, I think from a consistency standpoint, I think Nurse is better. I think that's really what it comes down to for me. Like, I can't think of a situation where Nurse is necessarily bad.
Yeah, even on Larry's, you can just be like, okay, undetectable add-on.
And then for Billy, it's like Billy is really good, but there are still situations I can see him being not the best. You know,
Hmm.
and I think that's what toes the line for me in that argument. Um, which I guess I mean we're kind of already on this, but Billy's power level. We talked about it a bit with the changes and with the tier list you showed, but
Hmm.
I mean S tier is pretty much widely considered where Billy is now.
Yeah.
Which is
This,
quite the glow up compared to how he was a few months ago.
we love to see it. Well, not everybody, but I love to see it. I love Billy.
Um,
Um, what was I just about to say? Oh yeah, I think this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think Blight before his nerfs was a stronger killer than Billy is right now. Like, I don't think Billy is as strong as Blight used to be. If that makes any sense.
I could see the. I don't agree, but I can see the argument. I
Yeah,
think.
Blight's less map dependent than Billy is.
Yeah, that's true. But unless you were, I feel like Blight's chase time even before wasn't. Maybe. The more I think about it, maybe.
Having Hog Tech and like old double speed, old compound 33, old adrenaline vial, that shit was despicable. Like, there was just no reason to ever lose with that in a pub game.
Yeah.
And like, he's still good now, but as you saw when I put him on that list, I have him at A plus, just because he's a really strong killer. But like, not having Hog Tech and being so slow with double speed now compared to how he used to be, not having any of those egregious add-ons anymore, he's in a better spot, but he's not S tier anymore.
Yeah, I can. Once again, I can see the argument, and I think it's the same thing with the Nurse and Billy argument. I think like it's a very fine line. At that point,
Yeah.
you're just picking hairs.
Yeah, the difference between A plus and S is just like, A plus is kind of like, they're all really, really strong killers that can just be absolute pub stompers, but like, generally, like, they can't just shut down games instantly like S tier killers can.
Mm.
Like they can't just like consistently go into any match, just be like, okay, you're all dying instantly. Like Billy and Nurse can just eviscerate teams. Blinded.
Yeah, like I think, like, do you think most killers need to be in the place Billy is right now, or do you think even Billy is like not the standard, or do you think like A++ is like the standard?
I'm glad you brought that up actually, because I had a thought. I wanted to know what you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
What you think about my thoughts here. I think certain killers only deserve to be a certain amount of strength, if that makes sense. Like Billy's power is designed in such a way where like he can be an S tier. Like he can be really fucking strong and like still be pretty fun to play against. Like if you have Clown in S tier, nobody is ever booting up this game again. Same with Twins. We saw what happened when we put Twins in S tier. That shit was a catastrophe. Like I think that's like a good indicator of like a good killer power is like how strong you can make them without them being like horrible to play against for the most part. And obviously that's a pretty subjective thing, but in my personal opinion, like the better a killer is, the stronger they can be and still be like fun to play against, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a fine line, because I've asked this question before to people. It's like, should a killer's ease of use determine how strong they are?
I think what should determine how strong a killer is how fun, like at what point do they become strong enough to the point where they're just not fun to play against anymore. I think a killer should only be as strong as their power allows them to be without them being like obnoxious as hell to play against.
Mm-hmm.
That's why like I don't want to see Clown climb any more tiers than he's at right now. He can stay right where he is. He can go lower for all I care. I don't want him being a strong killer because he's fucking miserable to play against. Same with Twins. Like they're not miserable. Like they're kind of fun in 1v4 if you're like playing with your friends or whatever. But like it would just be miserable having Twins in S tier, and it was when they were in S tier for that one patch. It would be pretty miserable having like Hag in S tier or like Trapper. Like those are just powers you cannot make strong, or it's just like egregious, you know?
Yeah, I mean we.
I think Unknown's a really good killer we've had recently. Like a really strong, solid killer that's like fun to play against.
I don't even think it's a necessarily like not putting them in S tier, because I've joked about this in the past. The Trapper rework everyone talks about, it's Skull Merchant. I'm not kidding. Like, think about it.
But that sounds goofy.
But think about it though. Starts the match with all his traps. His traps can be used like at loops in like a way that forces the survivors to deal with them. That's just Skull Merchant.
That's just the. Oh, I actually have a really funny tier list that I posted, and people didn't really like it because they're like, my killer doesn't play like that, and I'm like, yeah, that's the main way they play actually. It's like I put artist and like you put shit down at a loop and you have to run away, and they're like, you clearly don't play artist, and I'm like, yeah, I do. An artist is more than that, but like that's how you play against her, is you run away from the shit that she put at the loop.
Yeah.
There's just like categories of killer. Here, I'll send the tier list to you. But like, that's generally
M2 like, equals profit. That's a secret tool that'll help us later. Undetectable status effects. Yeet. Oh, the range killers. M1 Marvin was before Chucky. Oh no, Chucky's at the top. Okay. The Demogorgon.
Yes, there's so many killers that are just the Demogorgon. And it's like,
I think Dracula could probably not be in any of these tiers because technically he's like two killers. But
I mean, his Hellfire is like Pyramid Head, which is the Demogorgon, and his dog is like Wesker, which is the Demogorgon. So
run away from my shit that I put on the ground at loop. Night. Well, you can't really do that with Night anymore. Not as easily, anyways.
It's kind of. It's just like he puts shit on the ground, you have to run away from it. That's kind of just the gameplay loop with Knight.
And
It's
then
like
the twins have their own category.
yeah, the twins are just like the twins. I don't know what the hell they are. Very unique.
Couldn't you make the argument that all the other than maybe Singularity, but like Hag and Trapper are in the same as run away from my shit that I put in the ground with the loop?
I think they're more setup killers than like running away from the like you can have a killer in multiple places, like
Yeah.
obviously what do you call it, like Pig is M1 Marvin, but she also has undetectable whatever, you know. Like Plague obviously has a corrupt purge, but mostly she's just M1 the whole game. Same with like Vecna, like they have abilities, but they're just kind of like
I think because I think you did that M2 tier list the same day I did, or I was asking people about it. What defines an M2 killer? Because every time someone gives me a definition, it's like, well, here's the exception.
yeah. Honestly, I don't like where I put Bubba. This is the only thing I don't like anymore. I should have just put Bubba and M1 Marvin. That would have made sense. I don't know why I put him in M2 equals Prophet, but every other killer pretty much is an M2 killer.
I mean, it's one of
Oni's like a hybrid, but
yeah, it's one of the, like I said before, like I think Spirit is a good example. Technically speaking, by all definitions people name, Spirit's not an M2 killer.
yeah, I think my definition of an N2 killer is like basically you can just like press M2 at any time and like you just immediately become a threat that like no other M1 killer can like even compare to. Really?
All the range. Well, I mean they are. So yeah.
Yeah, range killers aren't M1s really. They're just ranged killers.
I don't know. I've heard some people argue that technically Doctor and Pig are M2 killers.
Yeah, that's just not. They're the most M1 that M1 has ever M1'd in
but their
the
power
M1 world.
gets them the hits.
But they are very M1. It's
You see what I'm saying? Though? Like, well, I'm
it's a very nuanced thing, but it's like
because it's like
twins.
Just... Or what the fuck? I mean, you obviously have them in their own category here, but it's like, what the fuck are twins?
I think honestly, you could get away with putting them in the same category as Oni, where they're just like a hybrid of man with hammer and like like I don't know, like the man with machete, but also you press M2 and you have like an ungodly ability. They're kind of like both the same in that sense, where they're like M1 man, but they have Victor or Blood Fury.
Yeah, and then there's
kind of a weird killer.
And then there's like killers like Pyramid Head, where it's like, honestly, most quote good Pyramid Head players will usually zone. So it's like technically the M2 is being used, but not really. The threat is being used, not the actual power.
Yeah, I think typically M2 killers have a lot of mobility. Their power is very oppressive in a way that like M1 powers just like can't compare to, really. There's not like, not that I can think of right now anyway, there's not really like a set thing where it's like, yes, this is what classifies an M2 killer, but it's like a combination of a lot of things. Like,
I think the reason I brought I asked people in the first place what defines it is because a lot of people are always like, oh, we should buff M1 killers. And then I was like, okay, what does M1 mean? I know what it means. I know you know what it means. And I know the person who's saying it knows what it means. But what does it actually mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you show me a killer like Wraith, I'll be like, yeah, Wraith's an M1 killer. Ghostface is an M1 killer. Okay. But then we get into ones like Spirit and Clown, who technically fit the definition of an M1 killer, but their powers make it a little bit different.
Yeah. And like, I would say Spirit's an M2, but Clown's an M1, but it's hard to like explain to people why that's the case, I guess.
Well, yeah, because once again, because if the definition for Spirit is like, well, she M2s to get close to get the hit, well, you could make the same logic for Clown.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but M2 killers are kind of just like, they're typically the very strong killers, the ones that like don't play at all. Like in chase, you don't play at all against them like you would an M1 killer, really.
Yeah. Once again, I know what you mean. I know. Like, I agree with this whole thing. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just getting the actual definitive definition just makes it difficult because when we talk about buffing M1 killers, it's like, okay, well, from behavior's perspective, we would have to have a definition of what an M1 killer is for them to understand.
Yeah.
So it's a I use the word a lot, but it's a very esoteric, nuanced topic.
Yeah, I think the best way I could put it would just be killers that, like, it's not just like you can run to window, run to pallet, throw it, and like you'll just be fine for the most part. Like, M2 killers are typically killers that you have to play against them like they're not even like from the same game as like the other M1 killers. Like Spirit, Billy, Nurse, even Billy to an extent, he's kind of like, you play against him kind of like an M1. Even Billy, I think Billy before his changes like was weak enough to the point where he was an M1 killer basically, but his chainsaw's just so strong now that like he's not really an M1 killer anymore.
Yeah, it's very similar to Bubba in that way.
Yeah, it's just usually a really strong killer that you have to play against completely differently than every other killer. So like Nurse Spirit, Billy, Blight, Chucky, like you can't just like run to pallet and live. You just like, you can pretty easily die at any tile if they're playing well, you know?
Yeah, and then once again, it's like killers like Huntress and things like that, where it's like all they're doing realistically is zoning and then waiting for a animation lock. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like what you said with artists, it's like, well, you don't have to leave your thing at the loop. You can play for the long shots. You can, and it's fun, but
it's efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings me into the podcast question. I was trying to segue it. Did they dodge or did you miss? Because I know you told me before we did this that you had you thought about this for a little bit and had a decent answer.
Yes, I do. I think generally for any killer that has an ability like a ranged killer or Billy or Demo or just like Wesker, any killer you can ask that question for, really. It's a matter of how close you are to the survivor. Like there's a certain range where you're close enough to where you should never miss if you have perfect reaction time and perfect mechanics. Like you should never miss. And I think that range for Billy is about as long as his curve window is because he can adjust enough. I think if he has engravings, it's a little bit longer than that. Like if you're base kit, no engravings, no overdrive, I think it's about just like his first 1 second. And if you have engravings overdrive, yeah, I think like the distance changes obviously, but I think like in the first 1 second of the curve, you should, as long as you're aiming correctly, I think you should be getting the hit. That's with the exception of crouch check, because like you can have like all these crevices and whatnot that you can sneak into and whatever. But I think for the most part, they dodged, or they're physically able to dodge if they're more than a second away from you, depending on how fast you're moving. And you just missed if they were within your 1 second curve window, if that makes any sense.
For Billy in particular, what about the up close ones?
A melee hits with your saw, like you should just never miss those.
So what you're
like
saying,
obviously you do
is I'm terrible at Billy. All right.
I mean, like if we're thinking from like a mathematical perspective, like mathematically, scientifically, whatever, like it's not physically possible for the survivor to dodge when you're that close.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I think the conclusion, I forgot who I was talking to, but I think it was Squirtle. I think our biggest qualifier was intention.
Yeah, that works too. I
Because
think
like,
with
because
Huntress,
yeah, like Huntress is a good example because it's like if you're running in a straight line and the Huntress hatchet doesn't hit you, it comes down to were you running in a straight line to confuse them to make them think you were going to dodge it, or were you just running in a straight line because you didn't know any better? If it's the latter, then it was a miss. If it was the former, it was a dodge, even if you didn't move.
yeah, I just think that question is mainly like the answer to it is mainly based on the range, like the distance you are from the survivor. There's a certain distance where it becomes technically possible for the survivor to dodge it, and it's like not entirely on you missing. And I think that range for Huntress obviously changes depending on if you fully charge your hatchet or not.
Mhm.
But I would say it's a longer range than Billy because fully charged hatchets are way quicker.
It's from what I read, it's like 30 meters is when most people say it's a dodgeable range for Huntress.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
probably.
it's just I don't know. I just bring up that a lot because one, I think it's a good question to like to get into people's mindset. Two, I think it's a actually decently interesting question that doesn't have a real answer, quote unquote. It does, but you know what I mean. Like
The answer is real to me.
you, well, I mean, like no matter what you answer, someone could argue your answer, right?
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
you could argue their answer. Like it's one of those questions where it's like it doesn't have a definitive answer most of the time.
yeah, I mean, the only thing that's not definitive to me is just the range at which it's missing or dodging.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because, like, obviously, if we're thinking like logically, like if you're close enough to them, it should never be a miss. If you're like playing perfectly, obviously, like you do because of human error or whatnot. But it's like there's a certain distance, there's a certain set of conditions you need to meet where it's them dodging or you missing, and that range can be debated. But I think for the most part, it's about um since it's like his curve window is 1 second, I think it's like his curve window. So if you have no overdrive, no engravings, that would be about 10 meters. If you have overdrive and engravings, that would be about 15.6 meters.
Okay. Yeah, I could see the logic in that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's like Xenomorph's another example that gets brought up a lot because people say Xenomorph's tail is undodgeable, but it is physically
I,
dodgeable. It's just not easy.
I don't know if it is dodgeable. Like
It
if you're
it's
using it correctly.
it's 30. It's how many frames is it? It's like 4.5 frames, which is just above general human reaction time. So it is
Interesting.
technically dodgeable.
But like not really.
It's one of those things, right? That's another killer I bring up with it sometimes, is because once again, if someone's playing perfectly at frame perfect, knows exactly all the tells, they can technically dodge it.
Is that accounting for ping too?
That would not be accounting for ping. That's another thing. Ping would also go into that
So like yeah, I think 4 frames is enough for ping to
to make a
account.
difference. I
That's a
mean,
one
yeah.
second against me.
Um, but yeah, it's like is like. But that's the thing. I did say technically dodgeable. I didn't say it was easily dodgeable. But then the question becomes: is dodging counterplay? Should it be counterplay? You know what I mean?
Sorry, I had to step up for a sec. I didn't know if you heard me say like I just needed a sec.
Oh no, I didn't. Sorry.
That was my bad. What were you saying?
I was saying, is dodging counterplay? And
Yes,
should it be counterplay?
I think so.
So if that's the case, then these killers with like abilities that can be dodged, when people say they don't have counterplay.
It's a kill issue. I mean, a lot of DVDs like 50/50s.
Yeah.
I can understand how 50-50s are annoying sometimes, but like,
It's most of the game.
yeah, I think it's like there's a certain range where it's just you missing. There's a certain range where it's a 50-50, and then out of that range is like they should always be able to dodge.
And I think it's difficult to balance because of those. It's like, where do you put that factor? Like I said with Xenomorph, it's like technically they programmed it to be dodgeable. It's just not very easy at all, if not outright impossible to a degree. But it's like, how do we straddle that line?
Yeah, I think that's the interesting part of DBD. Just what's interesting to me
Yeah,
is
I was just gonna say, and like you said, like a lot of the game is 50-50s, even though people like to think it's not. uh,
yeah, it is. At the end of the day, DBD is it's a numbers game.
mm-hmm. So
It all comes down to rough calculations.
it's a time management movement game.
Yeah, I think that's why I like DBD so much. It's like it comes down to rough calculations, but there is technically like an exact distance and time and whatnot for everything. It's just like nearly impossible to calculate just because of all the factors going into it. And I think that's what makes it fun is you can always be closer and closer to perfect. That's why I find Billy so fun. Is like his curve can always be like closer to perfect. You can get really good at perfecting it.
I think another thing with it, and this comes back to the whole skill expression thing, is I don't think, like, we were talking about Billy being like easy to play and whatnot, and part of the reason for that is some people do think he's a little bit harder to dodge at certain ranges, if not outright impossible if the player knows what they're doing. But I think the question with that is like, if someone knows the exact ranges they can hit someone without them being able to dodge, isn't that the skill expression being expressed?
Yeah, I would say so.
But
and then skill expression from or the survivor side would be to play around that and not let them have that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people in the Dead by Daylight community don't agree with that.
What would be skill expression then?
That's the thing.
If not,
from what I can understand, the skill expression in this game is, quote,
running distortion.
is just the pure mechanical, not the knowledge. So it's not knowing your ranges, it's being able to do it.
I mean, you would have to know it to be able to do it, right?
That would be my argument, but some people think you should just know. And that's the skill expression. And I'm gonna get so much shit for saying this.
I think they're both skill expression, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm gonna get so much shit for saying this, considering what's going on in the DBD community at the moment. I think we glorify exploits too much.
I
And what I mean by
don't know
that,
if I agree.
well, here's what I mean by that. So the wolf hug tech, for example, if that was intentional, I don't think people would care as much.
What do you mean by not care as much?
I don't think people would find it as impressive. Or as fun.
I mean, yeah, I don't particularly think it's that impressive, but I certainly think it makes it more fun to play.
But that's the thing. Like, I think if it was,
thing? I don't really know.
I think if it was intentional, I don't think people would find it as fun. I think part of it is, and once again, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think part of it is the allure of doing this thing that isn't supposed to happen is part of the fun.
Yeah, that kind of happened with Chucky with me for doing the Instaflix and scancels. Like it was really fun because it was not intentional, but it was also really hard to do, and it actually, well, for scancels anyway, opened up counterplay. Obviously, with 180s, it just straight up makes you better a killer. But for scancels, like you could play around it. Like it's not like
Oh yeah, like
It just added more interesting gameplay
a scancel realistically,
options.
like you'd get a hit maybe 5% of the time.
Yeah, and it was entirely for a clip. You weren't gonna pull off a fucking scancel in like a scrim or something. Like, you're not gonna do that if you're trying to win the game.
Well, yeah,
And I think that's what a tech is versus an exploit, is like if you're trying to win the game and you're doing it like practically, like very easily, like Wolf Hug Tech for example, like it's not I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I think it's an exploit. I don't think you should be banned for it or anything. I think it is fun, I guess, but it's like it's not hard to do and it
so
reduces counterplay. So
technically speaking, any tech in a video game is an exploit. Now, the difference between the two words comes down to sentiment. That's the difference.
yeah.
And that's a very fine line because I think Wesker is a good example. Some people are okay with it, some people are not. But it's one that, in general, the community has kind of accepted, right? So they're just considered techs. Rocket jumping is probably the oldest tech in all of video gaming. When it was first discovered, it was an exploit.
What about combos in like fighting games?
Yeah, those are technically exploits. They were.
Yeah.
Um,
I just meant like I think those might have been earlier than
yeah,
rocket
I think rocket jumping is the more common one though that people know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. Combos are probably earlier. But yeah. But my point is just like technically speaking, every tech is an exploit, and it really just comes down to how the community feels about them, and the devs.
Mm-hmm.
How the devs feel about it is also important. As much as we don't like it.
Yeah, it is the dev's decision, but I think they can be wrong.
Yeah,
So
yeah, fair enough. I mean, like Skybilly is a good example, right?
why did they get rid of it?
I know why they got rid of it. It makes the game look bad.
Yeah, it does. It's like they're abusing like the fucking I don't know. It feels like some devs like hate seeing players like taking advantage of things that like I guess they didn't want them to know about. If that makes sense.
It's one of those things. Look at it from their perspective. If someone who's never played Dead by Daylight is watching a video of Skybilly and that's their introduction to Dead by Daylight, all they're seeing is a PvP game where someone can literally like go out of bounds. That doesn't look good for them. And you can make the argument.
Fun, though.
Yeah, I know, but like that's how they're looking at it. Same with like every other tech in the game. Same with like hug tech. Because if someone's first exposure to Dead by Daylight is seeing a Blight hug tech, they're seeing someone breaking the game to breaking is a bit of a exaggeration, but they're seeing someone do an exploit to get not necessarily an advantage, but they're seeing someone doing an exploit as part of the character.
I guess it doesn't make sense from an outside perspective.
That's the thing.
I get that.
And I really do. And to clarify, the Wolfhug tech is a good example for me. I think I understand why they're removing it, and I think it should be removed in quotes. I would prefer it gets removed as a tech/exploit and just becomes part of the kit. That's what I would prefer. Similar to what happened to Knight. Similar what happened to Billy with his curves, because those are technically exploits.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would want them to do it. I don't think they're going to, but that's how I would prefer it. Same thing with like hug text on Blight. Like my suggestion for Blight was make the hug text an add-on.
I mean,
make an add-on that like loosened up the collision a little bit, so you could do it still.
Yeah, the thing is, I feel like trying to fix things by making the problem like into an add-on, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't really fix the problem. It's kind of just like It was
Well,
almost like a band-aid fix.
well, I mean, it's the same thing with like Chucky 180s. Once again, that's one that I completely understood why they got rid of. Um,
Hmm.
but like if there was an add-on that like increased his turn rate with a downside, like increased charge time or increased cooldown rate or something like that, I I would be fine with it. You know, I think that would be a best of both worlds situation in my opinion, because the people who still want to do the 180s can bring the add-on and still do that.
I think a lot of the fun of the 180s was just the fact that it took muscle memory to perform them. Just like I feel like just being able to do a 180 without having to like flick your mouse or anything, um,
Well, it
like that wouldn't really be fun.
it
Like the
would
fun of it was just the
it
muscle
you would
memory.
still have to do the flick. It would just like increase your turn rate. It would like or not even increase. All like my idea for the add-on would be like um let's say it's pile of nails, the shit add-on anyways. Um uncaps your turn rate. That's it. That's all it does. So you still have to flick and do what you used to do, but this lets you do it without it being an exploit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I would entertain the idea, but it's just like there's just no reason for behavior to ever do it, so it kind of feels pointless talking about it, unfortunately.
Welcome to most discussions in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah,
uh,
I don't know.
they
I
should
feel
make.
like some things are reasonably possible, though. Like, most of my ideas for how they could change Billy would be, like, reasonable. I feel like.
Yeah, it's like early game collapse. We talked about that for years and it never happened. Um,
Yeah, I mean, they could literally just make corrupt base kit and then, like, change the perk. It'd
well,
probably be fine.
just make 60. I think I talked to Squirtle about this too. 60 seconds of corrupt base kit. The perk doubles it.
Yeah,
Boom.
that'll be fine.
You fix the whole thing. You just do what you did to borrow time. There you go. And I don't think it would be a substantial like buff to killers. I think it would just mean they don't have to bring corrupt. That's it. Um, I'm sure some would find it annoying, but like I think it's necessary with how big some of the maps are.
Yeah, it would be. There is an ideal world for all this stuff, but I think with behavior being the ship of Theseus and all that, I think the band-aid fix is like base kit borrowed time or base kit anti-camp, although I don't really agree on base kit anti-camp that much, but like base kit corrupts all of those base kit like perks would be fine changes for the most part, with the game being so like just like a honestly like a shit fest at times with like balancing whatever. Like the ideal world would be like maps shrink in size. Killers are more like balanced around similar strength, not like the same strength, because obviously Clown being as strong as Billy would be tragic, but like the game would be more balanced, maps would be smaller, gens would be spread more properly. Perks wouldn't be as egregious as like current off the record or like old Medal of Man, like all that crazy shit. That's
It's
the ideal world, but like it'll take a while to get there, and I think base kit changes for the most part are fine. I don't really like base kit anti-camp because removing hook grabs was kind of all they needed to do for that. Like,
I think it
in my
makes
opinion.
I think base anti camp while not perfect, I think for the general player base was a good idea. Hell, it
Yeah, the
barely
thing is, you can
happens.
even.
It barely happens with me. I forget it exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like removing hook grabs was kind of enough of a base kit anti-camp change because like you can just go in and one for one at the last second mark. I also don't like the 70-second hook stages. Like they did that and didn't even like nerf anti-camp. They're just like it's kind of crazy how like when a survivor gets hooked, they just become safe instantly. Like you're just safer on a hook than you are slugged on the ground. It's
That's
kind of stupid.
I still think slugging is going to become meta soon.
Yeah, it's like I feel weird because I'm like talking about all these things that are like egregious to play against like on killer when I feel like most of my like gripes with the game are like from the survivor perspective. Even though I don't play survivor, like I want things to be balanced generally,
Hmm.
and like I want survivors to have a good time because they make up the majority of the players. But like, I feel like on this podcast, I've just been complaining about like survivor shit because like it's honestly getting kind of egregious these days. Like, there's a lot of hand holding with 70-second hook stages, base gate anti-camp, no more hook grabs, base gate borrowed time, off the record being 90 seconds. It's like
90.
DS being or 80. My bad, not 90. 90 just more of a number that makes sense in my head, but I keep forgetting it's 80. Then DS, Unbreakable. There's just so much shit that survivors have, and like there's good killer perks, but it like doesn't really compare to what survivors can bring in nowadays. And it's like it feels there's like a bunch of like healing shit too. There's it just feels like kind of a little bit egregious to play killer nowadays because there's like so much shit survivors can bring.
Don't forget that slugging counters 90% of all of that.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know. Like when you hook a survivor, they just become safe for 70 seconds, and then somebody can go in at the very last second and 1-for-1 the whole time. Like you can't even secure the stage because they're like, oh, you want to secure the stage? I just won't be near the hook, and then they get anti-camp, and then they Kobe, and it's like it's so egregious that like there's no hook grabs. This hook stages are 70 seconds, and there's anti-camp, so like I don't know, you just gotta like I don't know, like you hook and then instantly leave, but then
it's
you can just let them hang. Like I don't know, you have so many options as Survivor, it's kind of stupid.
It's not even just all of that either. Like the flashlight save timing also got changed. Power struggle, huh?
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I don't mind that one a ton. Like, I just feel like they made the timing too generous. Like, they could have gotten away with it making it, like, 0.2 seconds or something just to account for ping. But, like, being at 0.4 seconds is kind of, like, annoying as hell. Because I'm like, that's so early and you still get that. You're so handheld, buddy.
And then the
you never get that on old timing.
The Sabo changes they just did. Like, I know it hasn't really been that big of a deal yet, but I have a feeling it's going to be soon.
The thing is, you don't even have to Sabo when like somebody gets on a hook. Oh, I'm watching a stream just so I can like have my brain function while I'm like talking, but I just see somebody get reassurance on the hook too. I forgot about that reassurance and camaraderie on top of 70-second hook stages. It's like you're just so safe on hooks. It's kind of stupid. There's no reason to Sabo really. You're just so safe.
But my point is like there's all these ways to one, like you said, they're basically safe on the hook. DS off the record, body blocking in general, which I know some people will say, oh, well, that's 2 survivors being occupied. It's not as big of a deal as you think it is when 4 survivors are up. And
it wouldn't even be a big deal if like all the other things weren't at play.
Like the reality I see this game going into soon, if they don't find a way to address it, and I have a feeling they will. Is like I said, slugging is just going to become meta. It's the only thing you have to worry about when you slug somebody, realistically, is unbreakable. But once it's used, and if it's used early, then what?
And then exponential, but you can also snuff that totem. So
how often do you
it's
see
like
exponential?
It's like 2 things. Maybe if they bring tenacity like a fucking Chad, you have to worry about that. But that's like 3 things max. But if you hook somebody, it's 70-second hook stage, anti-camp, no hook grabs, off the record, DS, unbreakable, deliverance, borrowed time, babysitter. Like I could just sit here for hours saying everything.
That's not even counting the time loss.
Yeah, it's like
because when you pick somebody up, the other survivors are basically like, okay, I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
And they can just do whatever they want during the time it takes you to get the person on the hook. It's just weird because I really do think the game is going to start becoming slugging.
It's kind of funny how much they've tried. It's like poetic in a way. They've almost tried to push the game so far away from slugging and tunneling and camping that like that's like the only option now. Just like how safe people are against all that shit.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with DS. I mean, DS is annoying, but it's like I only got to deal with it once. If I get it out of the game early, like I don't care. And if I'm playing a killer with a dash, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I'm not scared of where the game is going, at all as far as the slugging meta goes. I'm just making the point, and I don't even know if it's actually going to happen, but based on the evidence I have and have been seeing, I do think slugging and the killers that are good at it are going to start to become a lot more popular.
hmm
Um,
I just think they need to address all the hook perks and anti-camp probably. That would be the main thing. Like, people are just so safe once they get hooked. It's like, I guess the argument against that would be just like, don't tunnel. And it's like, okay, so you want me to deal with 4 Lithe, 4 Sprint Burst, 4 DH, 4 fucking... There's like, I don't know. You don't tunnel or camp and then you gotta deal with 4 times what you would have to deal with if you just like tunneled one person out of the game, you know?
yeah, and it's also like I would honestly be curious how this game would look if it was 3v1.
Yeah, the thing is about 3v1 is like, you can get away with just like straight up slugging a 3v1, never having to deal with any of that.
Yeah.
It's like still in your favor, but once in a 1v4, you're just kind of a turbo fucked.
Yeah, I don't it's a delicate thing. I mean, even like 2v8, like the only reason tunneling wasn't
2v8 was fun.
yeah, the only reason 2v8 like made tunneling not like you could still do it, but like you had to go out of your way to do it, you know? Um and you know, tunneling is a weird one too because like I've said before, like the biggest issue with tunneling, in my opinion, isn't even necessarily like game balance or anything. It's just even if the killer tunnels you and all 5 gens pop, let's say in theory, and your team gets out, you still feel like you lost. You died. Team got
I
out,
mean,
but you
that
died.
feels kind of subjective a little bit, because like if I get tunneled out and everybody else escapes, that feels like a win to me.
Yeah, yeah, to you and to some people, but to a lot of people I've talked to, no, they don't. They don't feel good when they die, no matter what.
Yeah, I feel like that's a thing that could be potentially fixed through like the way they, I guess, present things in game, if that makes any sense. Like they could be like, I don't know how they would say it, but it's like, yay, everybody else escaped, you're a hero. It's like
Well,
type shit instead of like, you died,
well,
you
I mean,
suck,
you would
your MMR is decreasing.
you
It's
wouldn't
like,
see that most of the time because you'd leave the lobby the moment you die.
I just mean like, I mean like in game it wouldn't be like entity
Oh, I
wouldn't
see.
say entity displays. It wouldn't be like you lost like MMR or whatever just because you died. Like you get rewards for occupying so much of the killer's time, you know?
Yeah, I think my personal fix to it would be just make the blood pool or the blood points shared between survivors, and then
Maybe.
split into 4s. That way you feel like
That could work.
that way you're contributing to the team.
Yeah, I just think they should. It's something they could fix by making it feel more like a contribution
Mm-hmm.
when you die after being tunneled out. Like that's something they could probably fix in game, where it's like, here you occupied a bunch of the killer's time, everybody else escaped. Like you are the goat for that. Here's some rewards, or like it's not like you lose like emblem qualities or anything for it.
I think the biggest issue is the game on Survivor side does feel, ironically, as much as people will like complain about Swifts and communication and teamwork, the game feels like it doesn't encourage teamwork, and I think that's a problem.
I feel like if it encouraged teamwork more, then we wouldn't have to like add all these base kit features to help people, because like they would just be helping their team, and like be like, oh, we can actually just double save an end game and he'll be fine instead of just like one for one and being like, oh my God.
Do you know the amount of times I will put someone on a hook in game and I will audibly say out loud, if they both dive bomb the hook, they can get him, and then they don't?
Yeah, like even when hook grabs were a thing, it would just be like, just send in 2 people. Like he's just spending all that time sitting at the hook. You can afford to send 2 people, and one person gets hit, other person gets the save.
I was playing a
like, you're fine.
match right before this, solo queue Survivor, and a dredge was camping a bill, and I went over, and the dredge was still there, and I waited for the dredge to pop around the corner. One of my teammates was grabbing Bill off the hook, saw the dredge, and ran away. During the animation. The dredge was chasing me, by the way.
That is insane.
But it's like, so I'm not going to blame the dude. Like, I mean, it is his fault, but it's like, you know, like, not everyone is not even me. I suck at Survivor, but it's like, the
You don't even have to
encouragement.
be good in chase.
Huh?
You don't even have to be good in chase, is what I'm saying. Like, you just know what to do at a particular time. Like, maybe you make misplays here and there with, like, the exact positioning and whatever, but generally, if you know what you're supposed to be doing at any point in the game as Survivor, like, you should be fine. And, like, I feel like a lot of people don't really know what they should be doing at certain points of a game.
Yeah. I mean, like, doubling up on gens.
Not really explicitly stated anywhere.
The amount, like, I remember, like, this happens so often. I'll spawn in, go to a gen, start doing it. Someone will come over and start doing the gen. I'll walk away to go to another gen, so we're not doubling up. And then they'll follow me.
Yeah, like, they should just not be doubling at the start unless it's the hillbilly or the nurse.
Like, bro, just leave me alone. It's a weird thing because, you know, like, we all complain about solo queue in this game. But my question with the solo queue situation though is always, what is a PvP game with good solo queue?
A unicorn.
It's not a Dead by Daylight problem. It's a people problem.
Yeah, I think
You're asking
those things can be
for
alleviated though with like more communication options. Not like in-game voice chat, but like markers or stuff like that.
I don't think that necessarily fixes the issue though.
No, it doesn't, but it alleviates it, and I think steps should be taken to do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think, you know, whenever people
bring the update a while ago.
Yeah, I think when people bring up like, quote, fixing solo queue, I don't think that you can help it, but I don't think there's any fixing it. You're asking 4 strangers to work together to accomplish a goal that all have varying skill levels and different ideas of what that goal is and how to do it. Even if there is an objective answer to how to do it, they don't know that. You don't know they know that. So it's like, there's no fixing that. And I think that's why solo queue will always be frustrating in every video game ever made.
Yeah.
It's not like a PvE game where you can trick people to work together. Shout out to Deep Rock Galactic that I bring up all the fucking time. That is a game where you, like, I have played that game for almost 400 hours. I have found one person troll. One.
That's crazy.
You don't get anything for trolling. Because all the resources are shared. So even if, like, you, like, run forward and, like, get all the resources, it's shared. So you're not even, like, stealing it from everybody. Let's say, like, you die on purpose. The game is designed in a way where, like, unless you're, like, on, like, one of the higher levels, like, it's fine. You can just unlimitedly get them up. It doesn't take that much time. It's decently easy. And then, like, instead of being punished, this is a really cool thing it does. when you leave the mission, you don't get punished if not everyone makes it out. You get rewarded if everyone does. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So rather than like, oh, this one person didn't get out, well, you lose 50% of the stuff you got. No, instead it's okay. Everyone got out. You get 50% more. So it encourages you to get everyone out. There's no reason to troll in that game. It accomplishes nothing for no one. It doesn't really make people mad, because like there's just it's the way the game is designed. But Dead by Daylight's PvP, you can't stop that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the nature of the game.
Moving on a bit. We did talk about Billy being a little easy to play, but do you have any generalized tips for playing Billy for new players?
Well, if you're on controller, then don't worry about what your sensitivity is, because they changed it, so you don't got to worry about anything if you're on Billy on controller. Just learn. And like, controller's it's not that hard to get into. Like, obviously you can't be quite as precise as you can on mouse and keyboard, but controller's a little bit easier to pick up for Billy. So if you have a natural advantage to learning how to play him if you're a controller player, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But if you're on mouse and keyboard, I would recommend using your mouse and not Q and E. I tell this to everybody that wants to get into Billy, but I can't force you to do anything. If you want to use Q and E that badly, go ahead. But I think if you're using your mouse to curve, you can be just infinitely more precise, and it might be harder to get into just because the sensitivity is so touchy a lot of the time. But harder to learn, but you have more of a skill ceiling, I think, with mouse. And people think of curving as flicking a lot of the time. I'm never flicking with Billy. I'm still planning on making a Billy guide, and I'll show hand cam footage in the video, but whenever I'm curving, I'm almost never flicking. I'm never moving my mouse fast. You can barely see me moving my mouse sometimes when I'm curving. I play on 650 DPI. Play on really low DPI. People ask if you have to have high DPI to curve, and I'm like, no, actually, the lower it is, the better, because you barely want to move your mouse when you're curving, because it's super sensitive.
This is a weird thing that goes off of that. Do you use your arm or your wrist?
For curving, I use my wrist.
Okay.
Because it's so sensitive to the point where there's just not a point in using your arm. I'll use my arm for looking around or whatever, my forearm. But if I'm curving, I'll just be using my wrist, because it's I cannot emphasize how sensitive it is. I play on 650 DPI, and even that, it's when my curve starts, it's sometimes it gets away from me. So
maybe that's
incredibly
touchy. Why I suck at Billy, because I assume it's not as sensitive as it is.
No, if you're on anything above 800 DPI, you're gonna have a pretty rough time controlling it, I feel like. Unless you're using Q and E, which I don't think is a good idea if you want to get to the absolute skill ceiling, whatever. It's fine. It's serviceable. I just think if you want to be infinitely more precise, or get super good at them.
Couldn't you use both?
Technically, but I have Q and E bounded. What the fuck am I saying? I have Q and E binded.
Just be bound.
Bound to turning. Yeah, so if I'm traversing across the map, I'll still use my mouse most of the time, but if I don't feel like it, I'll just use Q and E across the map. That doesn't matter at all. Mm-hmm. But if you're curving somebody at a tile, I would use your mouse, because it's the thing about mouse is, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, you can be moving your mouse to the left, and the second you start moving your mouse to the right, you don't have to travel the distance back with your mouse that you did to move to the left. You can just the second you stop moving your mouse to the left and move it right, you'll go right. But with the controller, or like with Q and E, like you have to. Well, specifically with controller, like if you have your stick all the way to the left, you have to like take it off the left and then go all the way back to the right. But it's not like instant, if that makes sense. But like with the mouse, you can just be like super quick with it, and like probably like flick your wrist back and forth, and you can like spam Q and E with like your ring finger and your pointer finger. It's probably harder to do that than it is to like use your mouse. Like it's just you can react significantly quicker with your mouse and like do a lot smoother movements. So my main tip for playing Billy, if you really want to like do a deep dive and like get really good at him, please use your mouse. Please, if you're playing a mouse and keyboard, use the mouse and not the keyboard. And then also don't like flick your mouse when you're curving. I would just say like only move your mouse as much as you need to turn, because like I barely move my mouse when I'm curving if I can help it. Be more precise that way.
All right. Well, the big one here. Do you have any tips for playing against Billy that isn't just use Windows?
Here, let me see. 1 sec. Here, let me screen share.
Oh God.
So if you play on mouse and keyboard, you see this key right here that I'm pointing at?
Hang on, I'm trying to get the full screen.
This right here.
Yeah, the control button. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's your counterplay to Billy. Always press this button. Please. Like if you're playing against Billy, like if he's close to you in any capacity, just press control. Like there's like at least a 70% less of a chance he's gonna hit you if you press the control key. That's like his main form of counterplay right now. Is just like crouch everything. You really want to play off of like Billy's a lot of 50-50s. You want to play off of those and force M1s if you can. If he seems like close enough to hit you, just like crouch about half a second before you think he's gonna hit you. Maybe like 3/4 of a second. Just because of ping, you want to be crouching by the time he gets to you. Because like sometimes people will crouch and it'll be like too late for ping to account for the fact that you just crouched, you know? So you want to crouch slightly earlier than before you think you're gonna get hit. Even if you die anyway, like you just always, I cannot emphasize enough, like just press crouch like if he's about to hit you, because it'll just waste his time, and you have to be really, really precise to hit people who are crouching. So
yeah. Do you think they'll ever remove crouch tacking, quote unquote tacking?
if they do, I think they should make his hitbox a little bit smaller. And I think, I don't know, I feel like crouch tech should stay for the killers that it works on, because I feel like without crouch tech it would be pretty egregious to play against like Demo, for example. Like it would just suck. And I think it adds a form of counterplay that is kind of healthy in a way. If they do end up removing it, I would just say shrink the hitboxes a billion Demo, but
I'm curious.
I don't think it's entirely necessary to remove it.
The devs haven't said anything about it, so I at least not that I'm aware of. So I don't know what their thoughts on it are. I think it's fine for the most part. It's a little annoying, but I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Also, PSA, you cannot crouch tech Chucky. Stop trying. Okay, moving on.
The only killers you can crouch tech are Demo and Billy, and Blight to an extent. You can try with Blight; it helps a little bit, but not quite as much.
The amount of people
Just
who
Demo and Billy.
I'll slice and dice in the middle of a field and they'll crouch to try to dodge it. It's like it doesn't. He swings up and down, guys.
People try to crouch tech Wesker, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
His hitbox is like his entire body, isn't it?
Yeah, it's literally just a square in front of him.
Yeah, it's like his toe could hit you and you get thrown.
Yeah. Like it's the thing with Billy and Demo is it's like an oval in front of him, and with Wesker it's just his body. It's just a square. It's not like if he hits you at all, he's not gonna slide off of you. He's just gonna grab you. For the most part.
So the next one, are you big into the Dead by Daylight lore at all?
No.
So if I asked you your thoughts on Billy's lore, your response would probably be,
I mean, I know generally what the deal is. I don't look at any of the archives or any of that stuff. All I know about Billy is that he's Max Thompson Jr. because his parents didn't name him because they were like, damn, this bitch ugly. And then they locked him in a cell for his whole life.
he wasn't even
And
Max
then he
Thompson Jr.
understand.
He was just Kid.
Yeah, he didn't have a name. That's why he's just Max Thompson Jr. on the wiki and whatever. But yeah, they're like, damn, this motherfucker ugly as shit. And then they locked him in the cow shed for his whole life. And then when he got out, he understandably was like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you. And understandable, honestly. I can't hate him for that.
Fair enough.
I think like he's an irredeemable but like understandable character, and I like characters like that. I mean, the lore is not really the reason I play most killers. Like, I didn't know anything about Resident Evil or like almost anything about Blight lore. But I like those killers, so
Fair enough.
Blight and Wesker. So lore is not the main reason I play killers, but I do like Billy's general story, I guess.
It's interesting. Like I like lore is, as much as a lot of us don't really read it, it's still important, I feel.
Yeah, it's like you are a product of your environment. I think that's generally a good message, and I think that's a good story. Like, you can make somebody irredeemably bad by doing irredeemably bad things to them.
Yeah, one bad day, it's all it takes. One bad life is all it takes.
I mean, bro had more than a couple bad days. Bro only had bad days.
Bro only had bad days.
Like, he was in the trenches from day one.
Skins. This is more of a palate cleanser question, but do you have a favorite skin?
Indeed I do. It's the one I wear most of the time. Let me boot up the game and see what skins I'm rocking right now. Because I think I have 3 main sets I wear right now, and it's Batman with black barbed shotgun and camo pants. I think it's just a very iconic fit. I rock with it a lot. Something else I really like is I like the Slipknot fit. The only thing about it is kind of annoying is it's like a really clunky torso, and the only pants that fit the clunkiness of it are the rabbit pants, just because they're really like fat, if that makes sense. And then those main 2 fits. Well, it also has the like blood orange shotgun, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know which one.
I just really like the shotguns, to be fair. He's a shotgun and everything.
I think Billy gets a lot of really good skins, I feel.
I mean, he has
Which brings us to the next part of it. Are there skins you don't like?
For Billy, I'm gonna go through the store right now because there's plenty of skins that I don't really like. I'm just booting up the game here, one sec, just so we can look through them. The thing about Billy, like, he has most of his skins are like decent, they're serviceable. I don't like a ton of them, but the ones that are good are like fire. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like, they're just like. Excuse me. Let me see. Boot up, please.
I think because the skin I run is the summer wear one. I don't know why I like that one so much. Just the idea of him charging with a chainsaw and flip flops is always funny to me.
Yeah, a lot of Billy's skins. It's not a bad thing, but a lot of them are really goofy. Like, he has a really goofy set of skins.
I feel like we need that more for other killers.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't get it enough on the other killers.
Clown gets too many of the funny skins.
Yeah, but like, that is true, but like, I mean, it fits his character, I guess. So it makes sense.
The thing about Billy is that he has a lot of potential both for really goofy skins and also for like really cool ones. And I think that's part of the reason I like him so much is he has a lot of cool fits, and aesthetically he's a really cool killer to me. He just looks cool as hell. God damn it, it's taking a while to load this game. What do they do?
Yeah,
Holy
they have a
moly.
30% discount to all slashers.
Okay, actually, let me just pull up the... Bro. This is actually how long it's taking.
Maybe it's not OBS. Maybe it's Discord. Maybe Discord is being dumb.
No, it actually just took that long to fucking click out of it. Everything is freezing every time I click on it. Like, my game runs fine, like, in-game, but it's like... Shit takes forever to load. Dude, like... Oh my god. It's ridiculous. Okay, this is the third fit I'm running right now. I think it's like... It's kind of cute. Kind of funny. A fun fact, the pants that came with the Ice Billy... Is it this? Yeah, this is just default pants. They're called ice capped jeans, but they're literally his default pants. I don't know what they were cooking with that. Oh my god, my game just keeps freezing. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I like this fit right now. Kind of rad. I like the hammer with the Ice Billy. Ice Billy's pretty radical. This is the Slipknot fit that I like using.
One of his textures, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with the Slipknot thing is like all the pants, besides this I guess, like it doesn't look good with it at all because there's a lot of clipping.
Mm-hmm.
And also the pants just don't really fit with this. But like a lot of these pants, like they feel like really skinny for how big the shirt is, if that makes sense. It doesn't look bad, it's just like interesting. And then I think like the rabbit pants kind of fit the clunkiness of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So it looks good. And then the shotgun, and then of course the most iconic Billy fit.
The most
I love
recent
this one.
the Batman.
Yeah, it's fucking...
I'm sorry.
This is sick, dude. I'm so glad I got this skin.
Legally distinct Batman.
Yeah. It's a... Bat Boy. No copyright. Yeah, there's a lot of... There's another one I used a lot. It's
Milkman.
It was just fucking... It was this. Just Milkman with a regular mallet. Looks goofy. Did they mess up this texture on his face? What the hell?
It wouldn't surprise
Why
me.
why does his face look like that? It's all fucked up. What the hell? Okay, you want to see my favorite fit actually for Billy? I call this NA Billy.
NA Billy?
It's the most American it gets.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I also I ran this fit at one point. I like this torso. It's pretty fire. Pretty valid. I
And
think
then,
this would also be a good fit.
and then the worst ones. What are the skins you hate? Like absolutely hate.
Like I see a lot of people run Ice Billy with these pants. I think these pants look like ass. I'm not gonna lie. It just, I mean, I guess they work because they're blue, but it's like these pants just kind of suck.
They're overall pants
what is this?
with no suspenders.
This weapon is certainly something. Well, as funny as this weapon is, it's kind of atrocious in game because it has flies on it, like swarming your screen the whole time unless you're chainsawing. So that's kind of ass.
Is it like the plague one where like it's like
Yeah.
like two PNGs moving?
I don't know. But it actually looks like there are flies on your screen, and it's like really gross. But I use it for the memes sometimes, but it's really gross. Also, this hammer is just terrible. What the fuck were they cooking with this thing? I have no idea what this is.
I like the beeswax hammer. I think that was like a better version of that one.
Yeah, I like the beeswax hammer. I like Blighted Billy. I don't know what they did to his hair this patch. Bro's like balding. I don't like this. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like Ranger Billy. I don't think it looks good at all. I know a lot of people use it. I think it sucks. It doesn't look good at all to me. What else is there? That stinks. Probably in the store because I don't have it.
I was gonna say,
Because
Billy
it
has a
stinks.
surprisingly little amount of skins. I thought he had more.
Yeah, he doesn't have that many. A lot of these, I don't like this thing at all. I know people use this. I don't like it. I don't like this either. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's just like
The pig one.
there's better shit.
I see the pig one a lot.
Dude, this one stinks. Everybody uses it. This shit is ass. The skin is terrible. I mean, it's not like bad. It's just goofy as fuck. I don't like it. People say this one's good. This one stinks. I don't like it either. It's okay. It's just like, there's no appeal to it to me, and it's also a linked set, so it's like whatever. I like this one. This one's sick. I just
Oh yeah, the werewolf one.
don't really. Yeah, I just don't really want to. I'm not gonna bother getting it unless somebody gets it for me, because it's just like,
It says you have it.
no, this is unlocked set. I don't have it.
Oh,
And then what were they cooking with this? I think this is probably the worst fit you could wear. Everything I got on right now, this might be the worst it gets.
I don't know.
Not gonna lie.
What? Yeah. His fucking teeth.
Let me find some goofier
His
pants.
fucking teeth.
Oh my god, this looks terrible. I think I've cooked up the worst fit possible. Oh, these pants are funny. These are goofy. I think this is the worst it gets. I don't think there's a worse fit than this. this is so goofy, bro. People think these anniversary pants are good. People are like, I get a lot of like fit requests or whatever. They're like, yeah, my fit is anniversary pants with prestige, and I'm like, prestige is fine, but like, what? Like, these pants are just not good. I don't know why everybody likes these. They're kind of not that real. I don't like them. Yeah. Another fit I kind of like is this. I like these pants with this, but it's about the only combination they work in. Yeah, I like this though. I think the ice fits well with the blighted hammer, and the blue pants are cute.
If you had an ideal skin,
Yeah.
like one you would want brought to the game,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be?
I mean, like, I don't know. Billy needs some better pants. I'm not gonna lie. Needs to be, because like the best pants he's got are like the camo pants, the firecracker pants. The beach shorts are pretty decent, and then the rest of them are just not that great. Not that outstanding or anything. The anniversary pants don't look good at all to me. Yeah. You just need some better pants, and then more shit like the Batman skin would be awesome. More shit like the Slipknot skin would be really cool.
If
Those are super cool skins to me.
if the El Salvador or the Dr. Salvador skin from Resident Evil came to the game, do you think Billy should get it or Bubba?
I'm not familiar with what that is.
It's a chainsaw guy from Resident Evil 4. Got a bag over his head.
I think it would be funny if Bubba had it. But I don't know if the overlapping licenses would like that very much. So
I don't know how that works legally either, because I want Hello Kitty Chucky on because it was in the TV show. And I don't know how the licensing works for that.
Probably too much of a hassle for them.
Yeah, that's why we'll never get Burnt Chucky. By the way, it's too much of a hassle because MGM owns it.
Surely.
Next question is about maps, and we've kind of sprinkled in thoughts on this throughout the whole thing. But if you were to pick Billy's worst map, would you just say it's Larry's? Do I even have to ask?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say his best map is if you had to pick one?
Rotten Fields.
Rotten
I'd
Fields?
say.
Okay.
It's just very dead.
Okay.
Ormond's up there, I think. The main building kind of puts a wrench in your plan sometimes, but the more open a map is, the more empty a map is, the better it is for Billy, generally.
Okay.
Just because you can make better use of your zoning tools and map mobility, and yeah, like most, like Auto Havens, Macmillan's, Cold Winds, Ormond's really good. All the OG maps, I guess, where you know the collision of everything for the most part. Those are all really good maps for Billy. Those are all my favorites.
Understandable.
I don't like Asylum. Asylum's kind of ass. The collision's terrible. But yeah.
The next thing is about stats. Honestly, for you in particular, I really want to bring this conversation into one particular topic, and that is win streaks. You have, like you said earlier, what is it, 1250-ish?
Yep.
You have 1250 wins on Billy. In a row.
Indeed.
My question to you, and this is going to be a weird question to ask since you're doing it, but do you think a lot of people going for win streaks is healthy for the game?
I've been asked this question before, and
I know it's weird to ask you since you're doing one, and I don't mean any offense asking. I'm just
no, I
genuinely
get it.
curious.
Yeah, no, you're all good. I've been asked this before, and I'm like, it's kind of funny because if you think about it, the question you're asking is like, do you think a lot of people playing to win every game is unhealthy for the game? Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Like
I
playing sweaty.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
Um, and then you think about it, and it's like before the concept of win streaks were a question really in DBD, people were already sweating to win constantly. The win streak doesn't change anything about that. There's not a whole lot of people doing win streaks. I'm sure there's like quite a few, but like general player base wise, it's not like half the people are going for a win streak. And if you get somebody doing a win streak, it's not much different from somebody sweating to win the game anyway, you know? Like, I don't think it's necessarily unhealthy for the game. Like, because people are just going to play to win anyway, so I don't
I
see how it's a problem, really.
I don't think it's a problem mostly because the game doesn't really. Someone's going to argue this because of MMR, but I don't think the game encourages people to do it. I think it's just a self-imposed thing, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, no. I'm not encouraged to win streak or anything. If anything, I'm encouraged to play nice for more blood points, but
I
I don't
think
really care about BP, and I want the challenge of like going thousands of games in a row without losing, and I think that's,
I,
well, I don't even think it is, I just know it is interesting to a lot of people.
I think I think the problem isn't even necessarily win streaking, in my opinion. The problem is the game doesn't give you much to do,
Yeah.
right? Like once, like you just said, like you don't even need the BP. I'm working on getting the last of my survivor perks. I am going to P10 all of my killers, so I have all the add-ons I would ever need. That's probably with the blood hunt going on right now. It's probably going to take me maybe the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then once I do that, I don't care about BP anymore. And then once I finish the rifts, then what? You
Yeah.
know?
I like that they're doing limited time game modes. I think they're going in the right direction with that.
Yeah,
I think they're really cool.
I agree. But even the limited time game modes, some people try to win streak in those.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing a win streak in 2v8, and I was just like, actually, never mind. I don't feel like doing that shit. Um, yeah, in the win streak server, like record server that I host, I've decided upon not keeping records of streaks that are done in limited time game modes, just to like not encourage it, I guess.
Mhm.
Just because like I think it's a little, yeah, like playing to win in the normal game mode's one thing, but like playing to win in like a limited time game mode's like a little bit cringe, and like get that's
There is
probably
a
not a good idea.
line, though, I feel, as with most things.
Like obviously playing to win's fine, but like if you're sweating for your life in the 2v8 limited time game mode, like maybe that's not optimal.
Yeah, and then the definition of what like sweating actually is, I feel is
Also subjective.
yeah, it's different for every person. It's like if let's say I'm playing Chucky with like quote the best build, it's like, but I don't tunnel their camp. Am I sweating?
No, I mean,
Some would
I
say
think
I
if you're
am.
playing nice, you're more incentivized to run slowdowns so you can get more hooks.
I think I think a lot of people would disagree though.
I mean, if you're not running slowdowns, you kind of have to play nasty if you want to win the game.
That's the thing.
For most killers.
I think people want people to not want to win.
Yeah, it's like
They just want them to
DBD
play.
is the only game that's like, well, no, that's a lie. But it's kind of weird that people will see somebody like, I see like every month I see like a couple of tweets about like some like new fucking shooter game or whatever that I'm like not in the loop on at all.
Mhm.
Somebody quote retweets somebody who's like, I guess quote unquote sweating, like doing some crazy movement or whatever. Maybe like albeit unnecessary. It's like kind of cool.
Happened with Splitgate.
And
a
it's
couple weeks
like,
ago.
Yeah, somebody quote retweets and be like, "Man, this guy's a fucking loser because he's good," and it's like, bro, like people are gonna like play to win and like play to like get as good as they possibly can, and like some people have their quirks where they like spin around and whatever the fuck. I don't know why you care so much. It's
You know,
ridiculous to me.
you know what it is, and I hate using this. I hate using the word I'm about to use. Uh, we live in a society. um, the thing is, people want to go back to the good old days when they could have like a LAN smash party, and like no one was taking it seriously except that like one dude. Um,
That's why you just have a ranked and a casual mode.
yeah, but the thing is that doesn't. The difference with online gaming, and this isn't me shitting on it. I'm just saying the difference is you don't know your opponents.
Yeah.
You don't know their intention. You don't know. You don't know anything about them. So as a result, when they do something you don't like, or play in a way you don't like really sweating hard, it hurts more because you don't know them. Ironically.
I don't know. I feel like if you're playing a PvP game to wind down and then getting mad that you're losing because other people are playing to win in a game where you're supposed to win against other players, you're kind of like a hypocrite for that. I feel like if you want to wind it down after like a long day at work or some shit and you're playing a PvP game and you're like mad that other people are playing to win, that's like what are you doing? Like go play Stardew Valley. Like I don't know what the fuck do you expect other people to do but like try to win?
It's a weird conundrum because it's like you say you're doing it to wind down, and it's like the way a lot of people talk about it. It's like no, you don't want them to try to win, but you want to win.
Yeah, like
And it's you can't have both. You know, it's like we can complain about MMR all day. I don't want to get on that topic because I have differing opinions than most people. But we can talk about MMR all day. But you know, a lot of people are like, well, in Dead by Daylight, you can't run a meme build and win, so I won't. Well, yeah, you can't do that in any game. Name a game.
PvP game where you're like throwing against people who want to win. Like, what do you,
Like,
you expect to win? Like,
name a PvP game where you can go in doing an unoptimal strategy of some kind and consistently win against strangers.
keyword consistently.
Consistently. Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, you can bring a meme build in Dead by Daylight and still win. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
But consistency is the key point. That's the thing. You know, because it's like you'll be like, oh, this perk is bad, and someone will bring up like a very obscure situation where it happens to work. And be like, no, it's actually not that bad. Sure. Okay.
Like, see, Beast of Prey is actually not that bad because if you're doing a 1v1 on Trapper and you happen to get Bloodlust and then you're at a jungle gym and they don't run away the second you mind game, then it's actually valuable.
I have so many people who are like, Beast of Prey is actually really good on Chucky. So many.
Bro.
They're like, oh.
His cooldown is shorter than Bloodlust's timer.
They're like, oh, well, you'll get the undetectable in the loop, so you don't have to use your power. First off, if you're doing like a Chuck spot, you don't want to be undetectable. Second off,
he has undetectable built into his kit.
Yeah.
There's just no reason to run. What are they cooking? You gotta be scared of that guy. I don't
like I joke all the time about Chuck spots and how they shouldn't work, even though they do. They shouldn't work, by the way, to everyone who tells me like, oh, this person is really bad that ran into you. I'm aware of that. Anyways, but you don't want to be undetectable when you're doing it because you give a directional laugh. So
yeah.
You want no, it doesn't work for anything Chucky can do. On top of that, you're constantly going in and out of power anyways, so you're never getting Bloodlust regardless. And whatever. Anyway, it's I don't know, but it's like if you're going into a match with like I don't know, what's a meme build for killer? Like I'm trying to think of like a decent meme build. Like no slowdown, like if you're just going into a match as killer and all you have is lethal barbecue,
just like auras.
Yeah, just like an aura build, unless you are playing against not even extremely, but like once you start playing against really, really good players, that's not, and I'm not going to bring this, like I said, to the MMR debate because MMR is broken. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, you have how many wins in a row? Don't tell me you don't play against bad players.
No, I only play against good players every game. I'm just that guy. Like,
Yeah, MMR works all the time. It's never not working ever.
I mean, I feel like it might work. I just think the general player base is probably not that good.
Well, I mean, there's
But also,
also
it probably doesn't work.
soft cap. The soft cap is really
Yeah.
is surprisingly low,
Yeah.
which always baffles
Yeah,
me when people bring up MMR debates because I'm like, well, the soft cap is low, guys. So MMR is fine. Like, I don't know. I hate the MMR talk because it's just a cyclical talk that gets us nowhere, doesn't prove any points, and just there's no way for any of us to prove it. There's no way.
Yeah.
Even if you hack and go in and check everyone's MMR, that doesn't prove anything unless you do it for like 50 matches in a row. On top of that, just because someone's MMR is high doesn't mean they won't have a bad game. It doesn't mean they won't bring in bad perks. It doesn't, like, there's a lot of factors here. And yeah, I said I wouldn't talk about MMR and I just ranted about it for 2 minutes. Great.
You're fine.
I don't know. You know what? Fuck it. I'll talk about it. The MMR situation, because like I get so many people who watch my videos and I'll be like, "Oh, your MMR is clearly bad. Did you see what these survivors are doing?" And this isn't me floating my ego. I have the video proof to back it up. I am winning 80% of my matches. So either MMR doesn't work or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, do you have any other stats other than your win streak?
Stats regarding like Billy's power, or like stats about the win streak? Or...
Any stats, Billy's power, the win streak, anything like that.
Well, I will say, I think you might be able to count the amount of games on two hands that have gotten to 1 gen down. And the video you just watched is the only game ever out of all of the games that has gotten down to 0 gens, and I still won so far.
Do you do 4K rules or 3K rules?
I do. It's basically 4K with the exception of hatch. Unless, like, it's basically you, like, if you 3K, it's fine. But if there are 0 gens left, you have to 4K. That's the simplest way to put it.
Okay.
So, like, if there's 1 gen left, I close hatch, they get gate, I still win. If they get hatch and there's 1 gen left, I still win. But if there's 0 gens left and they get hatch, I lose. Or gate.
I mean, I've always, I think I was talking to Squirtle about that last week too. I kind of debate that a little bit because I feel like the 3K should be enough in my opinion, but I understand.
That's fair.
I feel like
that's a different rule set.
I feel like the 4K, like a lot of the goalposts moving, and I don't mean that in a meaning way, but it's like the best term to call it. That last kill is just so RNG reliant in my opinion most of the time.
Well, yeah, it is RNG, and that's why it doesn't matter unless there are no gens left. In that case, you have to 4K. Mm-hmm. Which can be RNG, but it's like, if you've already gotten down to 0 gens, then, like, you're probably gonna lose that game anyway.
Fair enough. I can see the argument.
Yeah. I'm not trying to, like, move goalposts, because, like, a 3K streak is still valid, but, like, it has to be noted that the rules are different for you than they are for somebody else, you know?
So when I was doing, I played Chucky for 50 games with no perks and no add-ons. And I was doing it for data collection. I wanted to see how good he was on his own. And there was a lot of times I would count a 4K when I would let the last person leave. Do you think that's valid?
Like if there were 0 gens left?
So what I would do a lot of times, so let's say there was one person left, and I'm at the door and I see them. I could kill them. Like, there's no questions asked. The hatch is closed. Like, all they can do is open the door. and leave. And I'm right there. And I hit them once, and then I just let them go.
I mean, technically it wouldn't be a 4K, but like if you want to count it for the sake of stats, it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah,
But if it was for a win streak, it would obviously matter.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, do you think there would be some leeway to that though? Because my
Only if
point is,
there's one gen or more left, then you can let them go. But
well, like I said, my point to that is like you could kill them. You're letting them go.
I mean, yeah, but that's not really the point of the win streak. I get what you're saying. You gotta kill them because you're doing a win streak.
Okay, fair enough. It's I'm not gonna why I don't do win streaks. By the way, I feel fucking mean as shit when I do it.
Yeah.
Why
I feel like a big meanie head sometimes, but I'm just like, eh.
Yeah. Like I have no problem
Nobody
camping
cares.
and tunneling, and I have been doing it more, because people have told me to stop playing so nice. But I hate doing it. I fucking hate doing
There
it.
feels like a double standard where killer players are expected to play nice, but survivors are expected like there's no expectation they can just play however they want, and it's like they don't really catch a lot of shit for it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't know. It's just a me thing. I'm a people pleaser, unfortunately.
Yeah, I had the same issue, and I still kind of do. I'm just like I feel bad about it, but like they weren't gonna not run main building. Like, why should I give a shit? I don't. Like they're gonna play how they want to play. They're gonna W key away before I'm even there. Like I don't have a problem with that. It's just like when you play to win and then get mad about me playing to win. It's kind of weird to me.
Mm-hmm. I think once again the problem is that we can't see intention.
Yeah.
Because like let's say someone did bring in let's say it was a full 4-stack bringing in meta. Like what if they just brought that in because they're all bad, not because they wanted to win?
I mean, even if they want to win, that's fine. It's like it'd be different if they wanted to bully the killer or whatever. But like, I don't know.
Mm. All right. Well, moving on to viewer questions, and some of these are going to be fucking weird, by the way.
Okay.
First question from I don't know how to pronounce their name. I really don't. Aren. That's Ahren. What do you think Thompson mix tastes like?
Is Thompson's mix? It's like a fucking something for the chainsaw, right?
It's an oil mix. Yeah.
It probably tastes like oil, I would guess. Just based on intuition. Whatever oil tastes like, it would probably taste like that.
Probably 50. It's probably 50:1 mixed with like pig guts or something.
A special oily substance used in the lubrication of all machinery concocted by the Thompsons themselves.
Yeah, it's just an oil mix.
Probably. I don't know. I feel like you would drink it and immediately feel like your body is factory resetting.
I work at a car parts store. I've seen people drink that shit before. It's just, it's not fun.
Yeah, I would imagine it's like incredibly bitter, but also smooth, and it would feel like it was sticking to the insides of your
it's
like throat, and like it would like hurt and also feel like sludge.
I
Like
was
it
a
would be
dumb
terrible.
kid, a very dumb kid living in the deep south. Not deep south, but in the south. Here is what oil tastes like.
Oh,
For those who've never had it
know.
before, it's quite the delicacy. It's like burnt syrup. That is the best way to describe what it tastes like.
That's what I imagined. So it would taste like syrupy, but also like maybe smoother than syrup, but it would also like burn your insides.
It does burn your insides. It is a horrific pain.
That's exactly what I imagined, actually. I'm
like
surprised how close I was.
I don't know if you drink. Have you ever had vodka before?
No, I don't. I've never drank in my life.
Okay, it's hard to describe, but it's like vodka, but only the fiery part of vodka. Next question from Gummy Peach Rings. Yippee! Yippee! How powerful would William Billy Thompson from Colwyn Farms be if he didn't have a stumpy leg?
Hmm. I feel like a lot of his power comes from the fact that he's deformed. He got that skin that's calloused as fuck. And I feel like the lump in his leg is probably an extra bone for protection. So I feel like it's part of his power. I feel like if he didn't have the stumpy leg, he would be weaker.
Gummy, I know you're listening, by the way. Just once, I would love a serious question from you.
You will never get one.
Last week it was T-posing huntresses. Like, okay. From Paul Velter. Thoughts on Billy's life cycle being unanimously overpowered to being unanimously underpowered to being overpowered again, but it's somehow socially accepted in the community for him to be in his current state.
It doesn't feel socially accepted. It feels like... I feel like the general consensus, if you ask Billy players, not even all of them, just like the Billy players who are maybe not as experienced, per se. I don't mean to discredit anybody's opinions, because like I feel like honestly they're not wrong about him being in like a good state. I think it's just number tweaks that he could use. But I think from like almost everyone I talk to, everybody's like, this is very anecdotal, it feels like. I don't know if there's like, even that question seems like anecdotally, they feel like a lot of people they talk to think Billy's fine. Anecdotally for me, I think a lot of people say he's overtuned. Even if they think he's in a good spot, they agree with me, like, he could use some tweaks. Like, he just feels too overbearing right now. I don't think it's like... I think most people think it's overtuned.
Yeah. I think the question is more kind of asking the fact that Billy has gone from OP to kind of bad to OP again. I think their question is that like your thoughts on if that's an okay way for them to kind of be what's the word I'm looking for, to kind of be like for a killer's life cycle to be that, right? To be OP, then nerfed into the ground, then buffed again to be very powerful.
I don't think the initial nerf adding overheat was acceptable at all, and then they kept it that way for 3 years. So from the start, he could have just had an add-on pass, and he would have been fine. But they added overheat and just made him feel like dog ass to play. Like they could have just given him quality of life changes and give him an add-on pass back in the day, and like he would have been completely fine. He probably would be the same killer today, maybe, who knows, but I guess he wouldn't have had overdrive if they didn't do that back in the day. I don't know why the fuck they did it. Honestly have no idea why they gave him overheat, but
so
I don't think it's really acceptable that was his lifespan, but I'm glad he's not shit anymore anyway.
General game design tip for those who are listening.
Don't do that.
It is better to encourage an action you want than to discourage an action you don't.
Yes. I agree.
Which is why overheat was so hated, even though most people would claim that it didn't happen that often. It didn't, but the fact that there was a punishment made it so people didn't want to do the chainsaw as much, which is kind of counterintuitive to what you want Billy to be doing. So instead of punishing him, they are now rewarding him for using the chainsaw. Now, an argument can be made if it's too much of a reward, but
yeah,
it is what it is. But in general, you want to encourage behavior you want, not discourage behavior you don't want.
That's me and my cat.
Times. What is your cat's name? Numi?
No, my cat's name is Callie.
Callie? Oh, okay. Where did Numi come from?
I looked up cool sounding words, and Numinous came up, and then people just started calling me Numi.
That's, you know.
Yeah, I just like the word Numinous. It's kind of cool.
Fucking origin story.
Yeah. Before that.
No, go on.
My bad.
No, go on.
And before that, my name was just Buckeye, with some numbers, because
Doesn't
My parents made my account and are Buckeyes fans.
doesn't ring off the tongue as much, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't have a cool origin story for my name or anything. Nothing
Mine
like unique as Very Track Disco or anything like that. Disco is a fucking unique ass name. It's really cool, but mine's
mine
not that unique.
mine I wanted to be a Pokemon YouTuber like 7 years ago. And I was like, you know what? Every Pokemon YouTuber has like a Pokemon in their name. And I was thinking of like ways to make that work. It took me 5 minutes. Boom, got it. That's it. It's a very boring
Valid.
origin story. Uh, last question from Twitter from Ramin My Lammy. You already kind of answered this, but any tips on curving?
That's a very general question, but yes.
Any general tips on curving?
If you're on mouse and keyboard, only move your mouse as much as you need to. Don't fling your mouse all over the place. Like, just try, like, literally just, like, barely moving your mouse to curve. You'll usually have better luck with that. Just because you get used to how much you need to move your mouse to do, like, very micro adjustments. So, don't fling your mouse when you're curving. If you're on controller, I mean, it's I don't know what to tell you about controller. That's kind of just muscle memory. I mean, it's still muscle memory on mouse and keyboard, but its controller's just like, I feel like it's very cut and dry. It's just like move stick left and right, you know, and then just get used to the sensitivity of it. With mouse, I get it can be more complicated. If you're using Q and E and you're not already like years deep into Billy using Q and E, I would recommend switching to mouse. But if you are, and you're stuck with Q and E and you're not going to change your ways, number one, that's very unfortunate. But number two, I would just, I guess, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of tips for Q and E just because I don't use it really. But I feel like if you're using Q and E, you might honestly be better off just using controller, to be honest with you. I don't know. I know good Billy players use Q and E like DMR or whatever, but he also uses shift to M2, so he might just be a freak of nature.
I mean, I use 4 for my power, so.
I mean, that's a mouse button, though. He literally uses a left shift to fucking chainsaw. That is psychotic. Like, I cannot emphasize how psychotic that is.
That
like, I love DMR, but that's so weird.
Maybe it's so he has full mouse movement.
I mean, you can still just hold down M2.
Full, like your whole hand is just moving the mouse. Maybe that's why he does it.
Or just not even using the mouse at that point, though. It's just all keyboard. I mean, he's using Q and E for it, though. That's the thing. Like, he uses Q and E and shift. He's just actually like a psycho.
Yeah, that is kind of psychotic. The more I think about it. I get so many comments that are like, "Why do you use 4 for your power button?" Guys, I have an MMO mouse. There's a 4 right next to my thumb.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense to have it on a mouse button, but left shift is like genuinely the craziest shit I've seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have my, like, I know I'm weird. I have like actions that are normally bound to spacebar for everyone. I bound them to mouse wheel down. Like, I scroll down to do those actions.
Mm-hmm.
And like kick gens, I like click it down once. Like, I don't click it, but I like scroll down one tick, if that makes sense, and then I have it to like toggle so it like actually completes the action. But I just have it on scroll wheel for window vaults because it's like faster.
There has to be some crazy person who has chainsaw on scroll wheel. There's got to be some insane person who just like, you can just hear them doing this shit.
Yeah, you just like have the unlock scroll wheel. You just hear them going woo woo. Just hear it rolling.
I mean, I know some people who play this game on trackpads, so you know, maybe it's not that weird.
There is Dwight Jackson. He did get a 4K with a fucking Dance Dance Revolution pad.
I want to. Someone told me I
think he won 3 games in a row.
With my mouse to play the game one-handed, see how it goes.
Honestly, I did that on Blight. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I could just put WASD on 2, 4, 5, and 6. It actually might work.
But to be fair, I just have like one mouse. I have 2 mouse buttons, but one of them's a DPI toggle. I just bound M4 to W, and then I just like held W and played with my mouse. It was really easy to do that with Blight.
I've
I haven't
got
tried it on Billy, but I have done one-handed Billy on keyboard.
my mouse has 15 extra buttons.
What the hell?
It's an MMO mouse. Yeah. Whenever I play
Forgot the
shooters,
Decepticon mouse.
yeah, when I play shooters, my grenade button is 9.
Goofy amount of buttons.
Yeah, well, I put it on 9, so I just hit my thumb or press my thumb there, and then I can move my mouse. And I can still use WASD to fully move when I have a grenade out.
Or you can put WASD on the mouse too. Shit.
I have a one-handed keyboard too. It's just I don't know. It's just preference. The next questions are Discord questions, and neither of them are actually questions because my Discord members suck sometimes. I don't care if you guys can hear me. The first question comes to us from Matt is okay. Bees Churger. That is their question.
What?
Exactly. Thank you.
Bees?
Bees Churger. It's cheeseburger, but the B and C are swapped.
Oh, Bees Trigger. Okay.
The next
I thought
question.
you said like Bees Trigger. I'm like, what?
The next question comes from Leon Wright. This is what they said. I'm gonna word this in a question and not what they said. Do you think you'll lose your streak on Midwich?
I have had a one-gen game on Midwich before. It's possible. Especially with there being more clutter and shit on it. That game, Midwich games can get away from you just because of how the map layout is, but I honestly think you always lose the win streak when you don't expect to, or if it's just like so many bad conditions that you just like can't help but lose. Like sometimes you'll just lose a win streak on an outdoor map that's like in your favor against players you don't know, and it's like, wait, what the fuck just happened? And then other times it's like you get Larry's, you get a good team, and you're just like, yeah, this was expected. But a lot of the time it's when you don't expect it to happen. And I feel like if I get Midwich, I will probably be more focused, and if I get an outdoor map, I'll probably be less focused. So I don't predict that I'll lose on Midwich. If anything, I feel like I will lose on an outdoor map versus good players like I almost did in this video you're watching, or it'll be a game like Larry's, the other video you watched a bit ago, against like players that are just good enough to take advantage of it.
I think it's funny when you bring that, because like once again, a lot of people hate me for saying this. You don't really play Chucky anymore, but what would you say Chucky's best map is? Because you're gonna hate
not
my
Dead Dog
answer.
Saloon. They got him on that shit. On
You're
like a lot of comparable sets.
Yeah, you're gonna hate my answer.
I might. I think probably Wrecker's Yard. Because there's not like a big main building to deal with, and it's a pretty small map.
I think it's Eerie of Crows.
I honestly don't hate Eerie. I like whenever I get an Eerie offering, I'm never really like, oh man, here we go. Like I really don't mind Eerie of Crows. That map is fun for me most of the time.
Yeah, I don't mind it too much, but the reason why I say it's Chucky's best map is because he can play every loop on that map except main building.
Even main building, like they're not getting that far.
Yeah, he can also the way the pallets are set up. If you leave them up, you can literally scamper the entire map.
That's funny, actually.
On top of that,
I don't know.
On top of that, because of all the mausoleums, there's a lot of line of sight blockers, so you can actually sneak up on people.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's his best map, but I can understand why it would be a good one. I feel like Chucky's not very map reliant, so.
Yeah. Oh, can't really do much on
unless you got like a
Gideon's
main,
or Larry's or Father Campbell's.
Yeah, I think he's not as map reliant as most killers. I think like a map with a ton of really safe pallets, like the game mostly. Even safe pallets he's pretty good at dealing with, because you can just break them and catch them before they get anywhere. But
Yeah,
Most maps, I feel like he doesn't have too much of a problem with them, because
it's
even if it's indoor, he can just take advantage of the stealth part of his kit.
it's the
So,
maps with a lot of junk tiles that he sucks at.
and then maps with terrible main buildings like fucking
Yeah,
FCC or uh even DDS. He's good on DDS, but the main building is just atrocious
yeah.
because he can get ran. It's like a free minute of chase whenever you run the DDS main.
Unless unless they pre-run out the window and you just walk back
Yeah,
and
so you have to like ignore the
chucks.
building, but you're a 110, so it's not
Yeah,
always really feasible. It's really annoying playing on that map.
yeah. Once again, I think like
I think Wreckers is a better map.
I don't like wreckers on him.
I mean, every pallet there is like playable besides Shack, and that's the only pallet you gotta break on the
Am I
whole map.
confusing wreckers for Autohaven? I might be confusing wreckers for Autohaven.
Autohaven is the realm. Wreckers is a map on Autohaven.
What's the one with the garage that opens up?
Gas Heaven.
Yeah, that's the one I hate.
I hate Gas Heaven now. I used to love it. Now I just hate it.
There's
That front window or front door being closed is really annoying.
there's so many junk loops on that map.
I mean, it's mostly the main building for me. Like,
Well,
main
the main
buildings are the
building
most
too.
annoying thing for Chucky.
Yeah, the main building too, but
For me.
there's so many just like random junk pallets that most killers are fine with, but he's just like you can't slice and dice it because it like you slip off. You can't just run them down because they're 110. It's just I hate it. I hate it so much. Anyways, moving on. Next question from our YouTube, if it would load. If it would load. YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. First question from Arshimi Bob, our resident Vecna main. What if instead of the Hillbilly, he was called the Bill Hilly? Do you think it would change his place on the tier list? Guys!
The Bill Hilly.
The Bill Hilly. Did you know?
Hillius Willius.
Did you know you can't put Hillbilly in a stream title, by the way? I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People try to say the Hillbilly in my chat all the time, and Automod's like, no, no, no. I'm like, okay, dude. I've said you can say the Hillbilly like 14,000 times, and it's like, you sure about it?
It's so stupid. I get why. I get like technically it's an offensive term, but whatever.
But like, is it really?
It depends on who you ask. Like I said,
If you ask a hillbilly, maybe.
I live in. Well, even then, most of them probably
hillbillies
wear it
care.
with pride. Actually,
Yeah, it's like, I'm a hillbilly. I don't think they give a shit. Twitch is just like a bitch about it.
okay, this one's about 2v8, so this is gonna be interesting. I feel. Do you like how they balance Billy in 2v8?
No.
And would you make changes to Billy in that mode?
I don't really like. I didn't particularly enjoy Billy in 2v8. Just like not having one shot was just really ass. I don't feel like they gave him enough to compensate for that. Like they didn't even nerf and nurse it all. They're just like, here, have 10 add-ons base kit, and then they're like, Billy, you get spiked boots and fuck you, speed limiter. Like that's all. They didn't give him shit. Like they did not compensate him for the fact that he just did not have shit in 2v8.
Billy was my favorite to play in 2v8.
I mean, it was fun, but it was just like it felt so bad. He was just really bad.
I didn't.
And like, it was just balanced out by the fact that people didn't know what they're doing. But if you got like a subpar player, like you just could not down anybody.
Well,
Just
what I would do,
There's so many pallets too.
what I would do is I wouldn't even chase people. I would just drive around the whole map.
Yeah.
And then
just like try to take tags and like expose people.
Yeah, and then my Wraith player would down them. That's how I was playing it. I had a lot of fun doing that. I thought that was fun. I can understand why some don't, but
yeah, playing Billy on Crotus in that game mode, there were so many pallets. It was stupid, dude. There's so many fucking pallets on that map. Like every pallet had like every tile had like 2 pallets or 2 fillers or whatever. And there's like shack connecting to a double filler to main building to fucking 2 jungle gyms in a corner.
As for
like 3 jungle gyms, it's just so bad.
As for Nurse, I think what they were trying to do with Nurse was they wanted Nurse to be the solo Q killer. So
Maybe.
like you don't have a duo.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like the main thing I would do, like, I don't necessarily have a problem with them giving Nurse so much shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just the fact that they give Billy speed limiter and they're like, well, they gave Nurse 10 add-ons. Just think of this like you're hearing it for the first time again. Okay, Nurse has like 10 add-ons base kit, and they're like, okay, Billy has speed limiter base kit, and you're like, I suppose that's understandable. What did you give him in return? Spiked boots, light chassis. That's it. Like what?
Yeah.
Spiked boots and light chassis, which is just what? I guess like okay.
I don't know. I do think that
They give him nothing.
if he could insta down, he would have been too good.
Yeah, like they just didn't give him enough to compensate for that. Like they just gave him a jack of balls. He was just terrible.
Could you? I mean, honestly, they probably could have just given him low pro in that game mode.
I mean,
He already had
I
speed
don't know about low
limiter
pro.
base, so I don't think it would have been a problem.
I know. It's just like not a lot of people like running low pro because it's just awkward to use or to get the hang of, and it's like a playstyle preference thing for a lot of people. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't have wanted to use it. I feel like it would have been fine if they gave him base kit cooldown to compensate for the fact, like Thompson's Mech Cruise Throttle, maybe even Engraving's base kit without the charge time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like even just adding those two extra things would have been fine because he was just so slow, and not having an insta down kind of just sucked ass. They could have made him feel a lot better to play in that mode and keep the speed limiter, but I don't know. I feel like they did fine. It's just Billy felt really ass. They didn't give him enough to compensate for the speed limiter, in my opinion. There's just way too many pallets to deal with, like any chase on your own. This is really bad.
Final question from Alucard. What a topical name. We kind of answered this question before reading it over, but I want to see if they ask anything else kind of unique with it. Billy used to have this reputation of being a very wholesome killer that everyone really enjoyed. I imagine part of that was informed by his perceived lack of viability with the overheat mechanic. Now that Billy is very strong, I see a lot of people complaining about him more often. My question is, what are your thoughts on Billy's perception among survivors from before and after the overdrive changes?
Can you repeat like the last part of it real quick, actually?
My question is, what are your thoughts on Billy's perception among survivors from before and after the overdrive changes?
I feel like it feels like anyway that a lot of people just don't like that he's really strong now, or that they went overboard with the changes, or they feel like they can't gatekeep his, like, the fact that he was terrible before. I know I mentioned that before, like he was just really, really bad and like really hard to get into before, and I feel like people took pride in the fact that they played like their gate kept killer because like had an ego about it, like, oh yeah, I'm better than all these people because I main Hillbilly. And now they're like, oh, Hillbilly's easy now, so anybody who plays him now is cringe because they just like him because he's easy now. And it's like, yeah, because he sucked to play before. Like, I literally dropped him. I eventually dropped him because he just felt like shit to play. And then they buffed him again. I'm like, yay, he doesn't feel terrible to play anymore. This is what I wanted. Then it's like, it feels like a little bit of skill issue. Do
you think it's I mean, obviously, like we talked about earlier, everyone wants to win. Do you think, like, because it's a very big trend that happens with survivors, a lot of survivor players, I should say, and not trying to lump everyone in this, but sometimes you got it, us versus them. Do you feel like the idea that killers are only fun to play against if they're weak is like really, really like prevalent in the Dead by Daylight community? A bit too much? Because even right now, with how the killer roster is, I do not know what the general consensus on who a fun killer to play against is.
I don't either, I'm not gonna lie. Um,
Even like Freddy and Trapper, people complain about.
I don't, I don't think anybody thinks this game is fun. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think people find this game fun.
So why the fuck do we all play it?
I mean, I find it fun. I just don't know if anybody else does. It's like everybody fucking hates every killer. Shit's crazy. I don't know. Like, I gotta ask people. I don't know. Like, who do you find fun to play against?
Like,
what's the deal here?
like I mean, that's
The thing is, I can guarantee, like, somebody who hates Billy would definitely name somebody who is infinitely more annoying to play against than Billy, and I would have to just be like, yeah, sure, I guess that's an opinion you can have. Because, like, it's an opinion, but, like, how do you have that? I don't know. That's kind of crazy to me.
It's just like I think perception is definitely part of it. Ironically, Billy suffers, I feel, from I'm gonna get some shit for saying this. He suffers kind of the opposite of what Skull Merchant had, and what I mean by that is that I don't think it matters what they do to Skull Merchant. They could make her the weakest killer in the game with no power, and people are still gonna hate that killer
Yeah.
because of, for lack of a better word, the PTSD of playing against the old version. There's nothing they can do to fix that. But I think Billy had the opposite effect, where everyone enjoyed playing against the bad version of Billy. Now that he's good, people hate it. And
I
until
feel like the opposite of that would be people don't hate it even though he's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be the opposite? I mean, I feel like that is kind of the effect with some Billy players, is like, they're like, he was so bad for so long, let him be strong now. And then, like, I don't think that's a good argument, but, like, I don't think we should nerf him into the ground again. Like, just because he was bad doesn't mean he just gets to be, like,
if
Pub Stomper Supreme 4000 for the rest of time.
if the
And
game was balanced like how League of Legends does things, where they do patches every 2 weeks, and every 6 months they do like a major game shakeup, I could agree with that point of like, let him be good. But we don't get that in this game. Killers don't get changed for
like,
years.
yeah, I think Billy should stay, like, mostly strong where he is now, but I think, yeah, just number tweaks. I think I think he deserves to be a strong killer. I don't think he deserves to be PTB twins. Not that he is that, but, like, I don't think he just gets to be, like, blatantly overpowered. Not that he is, but, like, I think he should just take a couple of tweaks and then he'd probably be fine.
Yeah, and I think throughout this whole thing we've basically been saying that over and over.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing I really want to say is, like, I feel like we're exaggerating a little bit. Like, if we tone down overdrive a little bit, and I feel like people are exaggerating the 1 second curve window. Like, that's not the fact that the reason you don't like Billy now is because he moves Demogorgon shred speed in his saw. It's not because he can turn for an extra quarter of a second. Like, it would be the same shit if he couldn't do that.
I think another thing with it too is how do I put this into words? The player playing the killer also makes a huge difference.
Yes,
But
exactly.
everyone always goes to the extreme. The argument I hear constantly for why people hate Chucky is because all they do is camp, tunnel, and slug. And it's like,
like every killer does
that's
that.
what every killer. That's not a Chucky problem. Same thing happened with Billy after his rework. I had so many people telling me, like, oh, all Billy does is camp, tunnel, and slug. That is every killer. That's not a Billy problem. Like, that's the thing. It's not a Bill. It's not a nurse problem. It's not a Billy problem. It's not a clown problem. It's a game issue, quote unquote issue. But that's just how it's always been. It's a little worse now, but that's how it's always been. And I don't know. I feel like somehow it paints the picture that the character is worse to play against than they are. I mean, that's a whole like player mentality thing too. Like, I've talked about this before. I was doing community night in my Discord, and we went against you during your win streak. We were win 996. I remember this very distinctly. I was just chilling out with my community playing Alan Wake on Haddonfield, and he tunneled the fuck out of me.
My bad, G.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. It was like I didn't get mad about it. In fact, I think the next day I tweeted about it. It was like, this is how you're supposed to take a loss. Just be respectful. Just be like, cool, he got me. Let's go. Bye. Am I a little annoyed by it? Yeah, kind of, but like I really don't care that much. I don't know. I feel like some people take the tunneling way too personally.
Yeah.
But unless you have anything else to add, Numi, I think we're going to end it there.
I just don't want to forget anything.
Do you have a list?
I was making a list before, but the only list I really kept is the base kit changes thingy.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to tell you now. I know there was a lot of technical issues, and the upload has been very strange. If it is too bad, I will let you know, and if it's okay with you, we'll probably set another date and try to re-record this.
Okay.
While I figure out what's wrong with my OBS. If it's not that bad, to those listening, you're probably watching it now. I apologize for any lag spikes and things like that. Unfortunately, tech issues happen. It's not much I can do about it most of the time.
Are you recording while you're
No,
streaming?
I can't do that because my CPU would explode if I do that. I've tried it before.
Okay.
I don't know why it does not like recording. It only likes streaming.
What if you used a different encoder than the stream one while you were recording and just made it like, I guess you could just make the recording quality really bad just so you can preserve the audio, I guess.
Yeah,
for the most part.
I can try that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little late now.
Could also,
I can try it.
yeah, it just meant like for the future.
Yeah.
And then maybe.
Well, the reason because I didn't used to stream these, the reason we started streaming them was because I used to record them off stream, and the files kept getting corrupted.
Oh, hell no.
So when I stream them, the VODs, it's almost, if a VOD gets corrupted, it is very unlikely. Even if it does, I can just re-download the VOD.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mostly why I did that. But yeah, any last minute words? What do you
Any last words?
What's if you had to guess, how far do you think you're going to take the win streak? Is there a point you're going to stop?
Man. I don't plan on stopping. I really, really, really want to get to 2K, but I can definitely foresee it ending before then. I really just haven't been streaming in a while because I really don't want to lose, and I haven't been feeling like the greatest lately, and then school starting back up and all that. I don't want to push myself to stream and then lose just because I'm not locked in, you know? You really got to be locked in every game you're playing if you're doing a win streak like this. I wouldn't care if it was at 50 or something, but this shit is at 1,250 wins. It took me months to get here.
Which I didn't really ask this when we were talking about win streaking, because I think Lilith has brought this up on win streaks before. Do you think you should be able to get that high?
I mean, DBD is its own thing. If I should be able to, in terms of any other game that exists, probably not. DBD is its own special thing, though. There's not a game like DBD, really. So, should I be able to, within the context of DBD? Maybe. But any other game? No, definitely not. Probably not. I mean, even with other games, maybe it's possible. I heard that Magnus Carlsen's highest win streak was 120 something.
What game was that?
But chess.
Oh.
It's just chess. Chess Grandmaster. But even then, he was probably playing against other good players. I'm sure Magnus Carlsen wasn't just going against random people. for that win streak. He could probably win thousands of games in a row of chess, and like that's entirely possible. I'm not saying I'm like the Magnus Carlsen of TBD. I don't want to, like, not being that arrogant or anything, but like I have 9,000 hours and like I'm playing as Steer Killer. I'm probably gonna get pretty far. So like maybe it should be possible. I don't know.
I mean,
In the context of DBD, maybe it is possible.
that's the thing. I mean, DBD makes it weird because, like, in like a game like League and Siege, your team, as much as people don't want to admit it, sometimes your team can hold you back. In Dead by Daylight, though, because of how killer it
I have no team.
Yeah, you have no team.
Just me.
Yeah, so in theory, like, I do kind of agree. If you're good enough, you should be able to win that much. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's a
As long as I
limit when it starts. And once again, this is, I mean, no offense to what I'm about to say. It is still impressive, the number you have gotten to. But at a certain point, it does feel like it's, what's the kind way to, going through the motions a bit, if that makes any sense.
No, for sure. The whole, I guess, impressive part to me about a win streak is the fact that you can go without that many games without getting comfortable. And because that's always how you lose a streak. It's not because win streak isn't impressive because you're winning every single game against like shitty players or like people who don't know how to play the game or whatever. It's the fact that you can win that much and that consistently, like through all the RNG and everything, without ever losing focus or like losing track of a game. Because there's bound to be a game eventually that is way harder than the rest of the games. And the impressive part of a win streak to me, anyway, is that you don't ever let up. You just play mercilessly every game, and that is really hard to do, honestly. Much as people might not want to admit that, is pretty fucking difficult to do. That's why I have to.
That's why I don't do them.
Sometimes take like weeks off from it.
That's why I don't do them at all.
It's mentally straining. Really mentally straining.
It's one of those things too, because I think context does matter with win streaks. Because I've said before, like if someone could get a 20 win streak on Trapper with no perks, no add-ons, I would be almost as impressed, honestly.
20, 20 is like maybe 50.
I still think 20 would be impressive.
I mean, it would be impressive, but I feel like to be equivalent to 2,000 wins in a row.
Maybe just like, as was the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
That's still impressive. Is my point.
I don't know the exact conversion ratio, but maybe like 100 wins on Perkless Trapper would be equivalent to like 3,000 wins on Billy or some shit.
But then, like, same thing, right? It's like if someone got 50 wins, no perks, no add-ons with Hillbilly versus 50 wins of perkless, add-onless Trapper, it's like, well, I'm going to find the Trapper one a little bit more impressive, honestly.
Yeah, that's why I'm not matching the Trapper streak. Yeah. I'm going for way higher than that. It scales with how strong the killer is. Mm-hmm. So, like, I just prefer the longer one. Pause. But, like, yeah, I just, I was thinking if I ever lost my Billy streak, I might try to do Perkless out on this one, see how far I could get. That'd be interesting, I think.
I'm curious how generally strong Hillbilly would be without perks or add-ons.
I predict that I might be able to get into the 200s, maybe. Maybe if I'm lucky, I can get that far. I know a lot of games maybe I don't make use out of, like, most of my build, so I think 200 could probably be possible, maybe.
I think it would also be a good show for how good pain res actually is.
Yeah, not having pain res is kind of a pain.
But on that note, Numi, I think we're gonna end it there. To those watching on the YouTubes, Numi's links will be below, and all that. Yippee. And I guess we'll call it there unless you have anything else to add, Numi.
I'll try to get to 2,000. I'll try my diddly darndest.
We'll all be here for it, and half of Twitter will hate you. In any case,
half is a generous number.
All right, 70% of Twitter.
It's going to be at least 140%. I will be Twitter's most hated. I'll be. Yeah.
But in any case, I love you guys. Have a good one. And yeah, bye.